back down there, rebuild the entire project. Obviously, you're making money on both aspects. But literally, we built the project, got hit by a hurricane, came down, built the project again. Talk about a freaking home run. Same drawing, same everything, just like regurgitated it. $27 million construction volume, assistant superintendent on this level. My method here was Excel. Right? I had a pretty good, well-versed owner that had done these before. I had a pretty good base of contractors that could understand Excel and could operate within it and could understand it if I sent them an email and they could open it and read it. So again, I can't underscore how important it is to communicate this schedule to all stakeholders. Not only, guys, are we communicating our schedule with our internal project management team, the company we work for, our subcontractors, our owner, we might have to send it to a damn bank or insurance company. Like, there's a whole different host of people that have vested interests in the projects that we complete. You guys might be a subcontractor working for a general contractor, and you need to just give them schedule updates every week. And that's cool. But you need to know, again, who we're communicating to. When I teach scheduling, guys, I don't really get too caught up in durations of line items. Is your schedule look good? Is it professional? Does it make sense? Those broader questions are really what are going to be asked more of you, in my opinion, from the general contracting sense. Now, when you're sitting there as a subcontractor that's doing mechanical piping, yeah, you might be really, really diving into the weeds there and really, really focusing on specific line items. But just keep that in mind. Who's reading it? Here's our biggest key, guys. If you don't listen to anything I'm going to tell you this class, listen to this. When you're on a construction project, I relate it to this. You're playing chess, not checkers. You can't be short-sighted on construction projects. I've been on projects, guys, for 3 years. Like, literally, and I know people who have been on the cracker plant in Pittsburgh. I don't know if anyone is familiar with that. If you look it up, it's like literally they're going to be doing construction for 15 freaking years. When I'm thinking about a schedule, or when I'm thinking about a decision that I'm about to make, you guys have to consider these other, we call them the pillars of construction, that we need to think about. Safety, cost, quality, and schedule. We're going to talk about those relationships specific to a schedule, but we have to think about that. You can't make a decision based off your schedule without considering these other factors. I'm just telling you, you can't. You're going to get in trouble. So no matter what you do, when it's related to schedule, you got to think, how is this going to impact cost? And can I do this safely? Does it physically make sense? And again, we'll dive into those throughout this course. This is Cleveland Medical Mart, by the way. This is my first project in the real world. Like, I had come out and I had like graduated college. I'm not in school anymore. Like, I was on this job site 24/7. We have to keep all these factors, all these pillars in mind. And here's the problem. You're going to get pressure exerted on you. Right? We're all cogs in this thing. Right? I know my role in this thing. I was a little dude down here. I'm only a little piece to this whole puzzle here, right? Like, there's pressures on me. I have pressures from my immediate boss. I have subcontractors that are yelling at me because they need to get material moved over to the corner. I got my immediate boss, not the big project manager, who needs me to be running paperwork and get RFIs answered. Right? What I'm getting at is there's a lot going on. You're going to have pressure on you to go, to push, to always continue your schedule. Subcontractors, contractors, owners, I don't give a shit. Everybody wants it done faster. They want it done now. They want it done as efficient as possible. And sometimes that doesn't happen, right? You have to make sure, I'm just saying, understand how your decision to your schedule relates to the overall health of the project, guys. Don't get pressured into go, 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 go. That's when a lot of mistakes happen in our industry. Not just safety, but quality and cost mistakes. Each member of our team, guys, we have one thing that is our number one motivation. Like the architect, they want the shit to look good. The architect doesn't care if you're putting these pilings down on Monday versus Tuesday, right? They want it to be done. They want the owner to be happy, and they want it to be a landmark project. Cool, that's great. Our piling subcontractor wants this to be done perfect, on time. Blah, blah, blah. We all have these different requirements, right? We got to understand ours. You got to operate within them, but you got to understand the bigger picture behind this thing. You have owner developer pressure, architect and engineer design requirements, your own company goals, right? The first thing I usually tell our students when they graduate, undergrad, masters, whatever, understand your individual company goals on the project. Ultimately, my allegiance, right? This is just me, but my allegiance lies with the company who's signing my paychecks, right? Like it's pretty common sense. I need to know what my individual company goals are on the project because that's usually my highest priority. Now, I have to make sure that those goals are fitting in on that individual project. But again, we have those needs that need to be met as well. Code officials, specific job parameters. We're going to talk a lot about that, guys. Our schedule ebbs and flows with our individual specific job parameters. Beechwood High School. Just a segue here because I want to just get off of our slides here because I like to do that. This is my first project. One of my first projects, I should say. New addition, renovation, Beechwood High School. We had all this phased. You know, we couldn't work after 3:30 p.m., guys. In Beechwood, at the time, there was an ordinance that there was no construction activity after 3:30 p.m. That is a site-specific constraint that directly affects our schedule, right? Now, I might go down the road to Parma High School and I could work until 6 p.m. My God, that changes the whole dynamic of this thing. So site-specific parameters can directly affect our schedule. That is going to be outlined, guys, in our contract or our special conditions, where it's going to say, hey, you are only going to have access at this certain amount of time, or we have to do this in phases. Whoa, got to know that. Subcontractors, those are some of the, and you know what, guys? I err on the side of addressing my subcontractors' pressure. If I got an owner's rep who's up my ass and I need a sub who needs something, I'm going to go to the sub. Because again, we have to support those folks in the field. I have had subcontractors in my time, guys, call me any freaking swear word in the book. I've been sworn up and down. And I'm not trying to dissuade you from getting into the industry if you're considering it. I'm just saying you're going to have pressure because, let's face it, when we plan things at Beechwood High School, guys, if I would set material in a certain corner or something, it affects production. Every decision we make is that in that managerial role affects production somehow, whether greatly or smallly or whatever, it has an effect. So we're going to get people saying, Anthony, what the fuck? Why you got me starting over here? This is bullshit. I got this person here. And then so sometimes you got to put out fires, guys. But the best way I've learned to mitigate that is subcontractor input. We're going to talk about that. Have buy-in from the subs. When I sign a subcontractor up, okay, I have the owner or the head cheese, whoever the highest person is, sign me a schedule. Because I've received their input, I've seen their durations, and I have buy-in. We're going to talk more about that. And then personal experience. Right? Personal experience drives everything, guys. You know, I tell people there are some students who have had internships in my class. Like, let's say my senior year class, and they've had an internship the previous summer. I've never built a airport before, guys. I had a kid who just spent 5 months managing or being an assistant manager as an internship on Tampa Airport. He can speak to more examples than me. I've never built one. Okay, I've got more volume of work in place than him, but that doesn't really mean anything, right? So I'm saying our individual experiences at the project level drives that. So using our schedule to manage, guys, like I said, let me show you. I'm going to jump down to it just really quick to just visually show you this. I use, and we're going to go through this in detail, but it's when I run my job sites, guys, the first thing we always talk about is safety. Okay. The second thing I do, I take out the schedule and I throw it in the table. I literally, everybody has a copy, and I say, let's talk. One piece of paper to manage the job. That's what I'm trying to say. Our document that we create and schedule, do you realize the information I can pull from this? I know when things have to happen. I know the status of complete billing, right? This is all tied into billing. I could put notes in here. I could tie safety issues into here. This is a living, breathing management tool, guys. This one piece of paper, I ran the whole job. That's it. I use it to talk. I use it to incite teamwork. I'd put that in the middle and say, let's talk, guys. I've had subcontractors say, Anthony, you're full of shit. I can't get that done by Monday. And I'll say, I'll challenge them. All right, well, prove me wrong. What can we do? And then the electrician comes in and says, hey, Jerry, you know, if I move my stuff out of your way, you could probably get your steel in there. And then the plumber comes in and says, hey, you know what? I'm almost done in that area. I'm going to be out of there this afternoon. And guys, you know what I do? I sit back, I lean back, I go get another cup of coffee, and I just listen. And I just sit there. And you know what? If I facilitate that conversation, it takes care of itself. And you know what I do? I document, record it. As long as we're within our overall schedule date, here you go. Here's our schedule update. Most times in the field, guys, our subcontractors don't want to hurt each other, right? Like they're going to come up with ways to make sure that they're working together on the team. At least they should be, because it makes everybody better. So I'll use that schedule to manage. I'll use it to make sure material orders, submittals, right? Everything that we get on our project, guys, has to be documented. It has to have the paperwork with it. We all know how that crap goes, right? I build that into my schedule. So I could say, hey, Sally or Sandra, did you order that transformer? Because in our schedule, we're installing the transformer in 2 weeks. Is everything good? Did you get paid for it? It brings up that conversation. When we talk about schedule updates, guys, I don't give a shit what anybody tells you. This is coming from personal experience. Every week, I update the schedule. Every week. I have a ritual on my projects. Every Friday afternoon, whether I'm the project manager or I'm the superintendent, low on the totem pole, whatever it may be. Well, it's really the superintendent is not low on the totem pole, but whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. Not the project manager. I'm walking on Friday. I'm walking with the team or anyone I'm with, and I'm putting my eyes on the project. Okay? Do not do a schedule update unless you have put your eyes on the project or you have somebody you trust to see that. And every Friday, I update my schedule and I distribute it to everybody. To everybody, guys. And what do I mean by that? Even if I have a subcontractor who is not on my job yet, but we've already signed a contract, I am sending them a schedule. My dad is a lawyer. I grew up really just thinking about, law type stuff. And he always told me this one term, military term. It's called CFAR, C-F-A-R. It's called cover your flanks and rear. Okay? Cover your flanks and rear. And what I'm trying to get at is, if I'm sending a schedule update every Friday, I'm covering my ass. Let's just be real. If I'm sending a detailed schedule update to all players on my team, you have no excuse. My material suppliers, my subcontractors, my owner who is getting a copy of this schedule has no excuse if there's, I didn't know that this was happening. Or why are you falling behind on this? Or why did you do? Check your email, check your inbox. Because every Friday, you're getting this shit dropped into you, updated. I've seen it. I put my eyes on it. Here's our plan. Guys, that covers your ass. As a project manager, as a project engineer, whatever rank or role that you're going to be in, you need to be on top of your schedule. And you know what? It's kind of cool. There's a psychology to actually a lot, I think, of construction management. Everybody starts seeing that I walk the job every Friday. When I'm in the meetings, because I usually do my job site meetings Monday morning, when we start pouring coffee at 6:30 in the morning on Monday and we get ready for our meeting, those folks know I have seen the job. There's no, oh, Anthony, we're going to be done on Thursday, because I'll just say, no, bullshit. I know you're not going to be done on Thursday because I just saw it. You're not going to be done until next, right? So, and it's not confrontational, guys, right? It's not adversarial for the most part, but they know, hey, Anthony's seen the schedule. He's updated it. Every Friday, this dude is just on top of our stuff. That is a term, CFAR, that will cover your ass and make you look very professional and make sure that everybody is in line in communication on your job. Because again, even if my sub isn't out there yet, they need to know that steel is getting delivered next week. They need to know for planning of when they need to be out there or when they need documentation to be ready. So the second I sign up, even if my painter isn't starting for another 3 weeks, guys, I add them to the distribution list. Hey, who's your project manager? I want to start bringing you in the loop to this schedule. Because again, it's very nice to sit back and say, guys, why is this an issue here? You've been seeing every Friday. Schedule update. I adjust it. I'm putting notes in there. It's on you, legally and contractually, if you're not reading that. Oh, really quick here, this time management matrix, I want to just share this with you guys. I'm not going to go in depth. You're going to be pulled in a million different directions as PMs, okay? One day it could be a union issue, it could be a safety issue. Maybe I have a golf outing on a Friday to do some relationship building. I just share this with you because I think it's very interesting for you to really start focusing on importance in your projects. When we talk about scheduling today, guys, it's going to be called the critical path method. You need to focus your time, okay, on urgent and important line items. Is it important that we do the landscaping on our project as we're leaving the project and it's one of the last things we do? Of course. Spruce trees and junipers and all this crazy shit I'm going through. It's really interesting stuff. I love landscape architecture. It's cool shit, okay? But when I'm sitting down and I'm in the heat of battle, when I say battle, I'm in the heat of construction here, we have all this stuff going on, that's not high on my priority list. Maybe the building foundations, the structural steel, the HVAC units, the big, important, urgent items that actually drive the project need to be focused on. Again, that doesn't mean that the spruce trees are just bullshit and I can't know. The owner paid for them. They're important. We have to have them done. But maybe that falls down over here in quadrant 3 for the time being. All I'm saying is think about importance of your issue. If you can direct your energy to the really specific items on your job, it'll pay dividends. And we're going to talk about that. So I just share this with you. It's something cool. Like literally, just you can print it out, copy, paste it, or just have it to just say, hey, you know, what do I really need to do to figure out what's important? You know, relationship building is important. And sometimes that's past your job site, right? Like I kid saying going to golf outings for networking, but it's all about networking, guys. A lot of it is. So sometimes it's out of the individual project stuff that you need to do things to continue your industry, what you're sitting in right now, continuing your education, right? Those areas, it's just something for you to think about. I'm not going to go through every one of these. I want to point out a couple important ones, guys, but obviously we're reducing construction time. All right, we're increasing productivity, providing continuous workflows. That is what our goal is, because remember, that translates directly to the field. The people in the field benefit from company resources and continuous workflows. Okay? This is very important, I think. Everything that we do in CM, guys, is tied back to the contract. Everything. God, how many times in meetings have you, that's not my contract, not in the contract. Is it in the contract? Where's the contract? What page is that on the contract? If I had $1 for every time I've said contract or have heard contract in a meeting, I would be Bill Gates right now, okay? You guys will have the power on an individual project if you take the time to read the damn contract. You don't know how, it's the first thing I do. It's the most boring freaking read in the world. I hate it. It's so just dry. But you know what? When I walk into that first job site meeting, guys, I know what is in everybody's contract. I don't want to do anything that's outside of my contractual requirements. That's not what I'm getting paid for, right? So you really need to understand what is the contractual requirements, because that drives your schedule requirements. And then it obviously makes your company look professional. I cannot stress that enough. You know how good it looks to an owner? Yeah, damn, Anthony's on top of his shit, man. Every Friday afternoon, like clockwork, I'm getting a copy of this. It's professional. It looks good. It's easy to read. It communicates it to me. This schedule, guys, the owner on this project had never done a construction project before. This was their first expansion. Like, this guy knows how to build LED lights. That's it. It was a light factory. He had no idea about, and I made it as simple and easy to communicate with him as possible. And my God, you just, at the end of the project, they were just like, Anthony, we just really appreciate just how professional. Guys, this is a damn Excel spreadsheet that took me 20 minutes to update on a Friday. But you know what? I was consistent with it, made it look professional, the whole 9 yards. Okay? So I cannot stress that enough, that we need to improve that job communication. It makes you look good. You just perform better. Now, also important to choose the right scheduling method. If I'm building that $3.7 million project I did, that warehouse, guys, it was so easy. It was a huge box. Literally, let me show you. Pretty cool. King Luminaire, if you guys have ever, any like concrete spun vertical like street light in Cleveland, in Kent, in Detroit, in New York. If you guys are standing, if you're next crosswalk you're standing at and you're pressing the button to cross the road like in a big urban area, look down at the street lamp. It'll probably say King Luminaire on the bottom. Pretty badass stuff. But guys, this project was a huge, look at it. It's a huge shell. It's a shell. I don't know why this thing flips through so much. There was barely any line items, guys. I used a basic Excel spreadsheet. They were just, it's simple. It had a bathroom, a kitchen, and it was a big freaking metal box. Okay? Big storage area. I'm not going to go through and do the critical path method, which I'm going to show you to do today. I'm not going to go through and do that for that project. I sat there and I literally took a piece of paper and I wrote down all the line items myself. I'm not trying to make myself look fancy or like, oh, I'm so smart, but like, I could pretty much tell you what the important shit is in that building, right? Like foundations, steel, electrical, build the box. It's a very simple type process. I'm not going to go through and spend all my time and energy creating and calculating this cool, intricate schedule. Now, Cleveland Medical Mart, $550 million. You better believe, hell yeah, huge P6 schedule, all this different crap going on. So we have to be able to adjust. Level of our experience of the management team. Even if you guys are going to be determining on who's running your project for you, if you're a company owner or if you're a manager or someone else, what's their level of experience? Do they need to go take a class? And I'm not going to go through every single one of these guys. It's a little redundant, but I can't stress it enough. There's going to be a ton of different folks that need to read or understand your schedule. Know your audience. Know your audience. Sometimes, guys, that Cabo San Lucas project I showed you up here, was our owner, Hilton Hotel, Yeah, but you know who was writing the checks for this project? Think about it. It got hit by a hurricane. Liberty Mutual was writing the checks for this project. Liberty Mutual flew down a insurance representative to live in Cabo San Lucas for the duration of the project. Because at the end of the day, it was about $33 million that Liberty Mutual stroked checks for. So they were kind of my boss, right? They needed to understand the schedule because they were writing the checks. Hilton needed to understand the schedule because they were writing the checks. Well, they weren't writing the checks, but they were going to be collecting the damn checks when the thing opened, right? So when we teach guys, and I've seen a lot of this in my commercial experience, the critical path method. Is putting the tile in the bathrooms important? Yes. Is paint on the walls important? Yes. Are they as critical as certain other items? Hell no. The thing that we use is to really identify the critical items that drive changes in our end date. I'm going to say this again throughout our schedule, but I can't stress it enough. A critical path item, if a day is added to that critical path item, a day is added to the end date of our schedule. Oh shit. If we've signed a contract to turn this building over on January 1st, okay, and we don't pour that critical item concrete that we were supposed to today, and we went from Friday until Monday, this date just went from January 1st to January 2nd. Oh shit. Because everything we're contractually tied to is that end date, guys. Now, if there's unforeseen conditions, if weather happens, blah, 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 all this stuff, that can change. This could move a little bit. But man, our goal is to deliver that there. Critical items change that date. Oh shit, right? We should tuck her up a little bit. We got to make sure, wait, there's a delay in the concrete? Oh, what do we got to do? If there's a delay in the carpet tile, I'm not losing as much sleep over it. Not to put anything away from that, and it can change into a critical activity, but this method identifies those. It shows it visually, which we'll show here in a second. It shows predecessors and successors. What activity has to happen directly before the next? How are they related to each other? What is the relationship between these two items? This is typically, guys, the hardest thing for us. The sequence of construction. Sometimes you're worried to be like, I'm worried to say that this is supposed to happen before here because I don't want to look stupid. I want to make sure that the framing has to be done before drywall. Guys, the only way you're going to learn is to really try to put yourself out there and make suggestions and think about what is the sequence. It's so hard, guys. And it could be done a million different ways. And I'll give you guys examples as we go throughout here later on. But don't, again, get too caught up on predecessors and successors. You can overlap. You can change. There's a million things that can really go different. Let me just show you. Just a visual of it really quick here. And I have some more examples. But this critical path method, I know it looks like, oh my God, this doesn't even look construction related. Essentially, all these are, guys, A, B, C, D, and E, and all this stuff. These are activity items, right? All this is a visual representation of showing one activity. This could be electrical, this could be plumbing, this could be anything, has a relationship with the other. Don't freak out about these numbers. We're not talking about any of that stuff yet. I'm just showing you of a visual representation of these items. If we're talking about item B, let's call item B electrical, okay? The predecessor would be item A. What that means is, and use this, guys, I'm big into this stuff, predecessor, P-R-E, pre, it comes before. That just means that this activity has to happen before this activity does. That's all that arrow represents. But it's visually appealing to us. Okay, I got to get this done before this. Red always identifies critical path. So what does that mean? If if a day is added to item B, a day is added to the end date of our schedule. Again, I'll give more detailed examples of this as we go through, but I just want to show you really quick a visual representation of how this works. A successor, okay, would be C. C is the successor to B. It comes after. In this relationship, whether it's, layout walls, frame walls, install drywall, the sequence of construction is, it's harder for us to grasp, in at least my experience. We'll talk about the different relationship types between them today, but I just wanted to show you, like, kind of just how we get started. This critical path method, as you see these nodes or whatever, this is what it represents. We're very visual people. I don't want to just create a schedule, and obviously we'll show you examples of P6 and stuff, but it's all representing the same thing is what I'm trying to get at. We use arrows, colors, relationships visually to communicate our schedules for the most part. Let's face it, guys, we're visual people. I like seeing pictures. I like being on a job site and touching things and seeing how they go together visually. Like, I think that's why we all like construction. Can't underestimate the importance of this, of how easy it is to understand, oh, this item's tied to this item. Again, we'll go into specific examples down the road. This item's connected to here. Oh, these items, the red items, are my critical ones. Once you get exposed to it, you'll start to understand that. We use, okay, again, this is the same visual representation, right? Same thing. This methodology, guys, was really determined and created by the Navy. They called it the PERT method, Project Evaluation Review. All you're simply doing is looking at 3 different times. This is really important, guys. We're going to start, we'll speed up through some stuff. I know I've been talking and giving you a lot of examples of each, and we'll dive into some more details here, but really focus in on this because it ties into your audience. Okay, so let's think about it. We're sitting down and we're going to start creating our schedule, all right? And we say, all right, we have a concrete contractor coming in. There's typically 3 times that we like to think about, okay? An optimistic time is our early start, or what I like to call best case scenario. So let's say in a perfect world, if all the stars align, we will be able to finish our concrete on Monday. Okay? And again, it could be start or finish. So we can just call this early finish, since my example is going to be, we're going to finish on Monday as opposed to start. Interchangeable, doesn't matter. So optimistic time, we're going to finish on Monday. A pessimistic time is, you know what, man, we have to sit and have this conversation. What's our relationship with the contractor? Are they meeting scheduled dates? Have they done a good job? You know, are we confident that they're going to hit this? I don't know, but I think worst case scenario, they're going to be done Friday. This pessimistic time, guys, I want to negotiate with the owner and hopefully have built in my schedule. I always want to show the owner the pessimistic time. I don't want to lie to the owner, right? But I want to take any, and this owner could be your general contractor if you're a sub. I will take any damn day you will give me. You guys need to think about a day as equating to money. A day equals time. You want to give me a day? I'll take it. Give it to me. I will take any day on the freaking schedule. I want to present the pessimistic time to the owner. Because you know why as well? You know what looks really good? I tell the owner we're going to be done on Friday, and we're done on Wednesday. We're done on Thursday. I look good. We look good, right? Now, then there's the most likely time somewhere in the middle. Most likely, you know, it's Northeast Ohio. We might have one delay, but we have a really good group of guys and gals, and they're good and they're well experienced. Most likely, this would probably be the discussion that we would have internally if we were all on the same team. Most likely, we'll be done Wednesday. Now, if I'm presenting this to the owner, the pessimistic time, this to my internal PM team, right? Maybe my boss, maybe you guys, whatever. Who do you think I'm left presenting the optimistic time to? The subcontractors, right? I am never going to tell a sub, oh, you know what? You got until Friday. Don't worry about it. You know, if it comes in on Tuesday, great. If it comes in on Wednesday, cool. You know what? We got, hell no. To the subcontractors on Monday, I need it faster. I need it sooner. And that's what that pressure I was telling you guys about. I come from the general contractor side of things where I'm pushing the subcontractors fast, fast, fast. The owner's pushing me fast, 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 fast. Right? So that's that fine balance that you have to have. And you got to understand that project manager is probably presenting the worst case scenario to you as a subcontractor. This is critical for you guys to understand to when you sit down and start creating your schedules. I need to know who I'm presenting to. Again, I don't want to lie, guys. You know, you're not trying to be deceitful, and you know you're not trying to change huge, but you're just because basically, guys, we don't know either. This should really be representative. If I'm presenting something to you where we're trying to take an average, like think about that, right? Like I'm saying, hey, this like, we're kind of taking an average. We don't know. My God, if I could predict the future, I will be retired on a beach in Belize right now. Like, right? We're making a best guess scenario here. We had essentially, we want to fall somewhere in the middle. Okay? So I hope that makes you feel better. Like we're all guesstimating a little bit. When you sit there and I've been in these meetings, I'm like, oh my God, this lady, this woman, she really knows what the hell she's talking about. Like she's well versed. She's really, really smart. Like she's really hitting all these schedule dates. We don't know. It's a guesstimate. We show logic. And that's another thing we can't stress enough is we show logic between our items. It's a visual representation. Our subcontractors understand it. It shows that this item is connected into this. It shows that mobilization has to happen before we set our foundations, right? That visual arrow and representation is super, super important. Also keep in mind, guys, this is a document that could be included in the court of law, right? These things represent real things that are happening in the field. That's what I love about this shit. That little arrow that you drag around and move around is a real thing that is going to happen. Someone is going to be using your schedule to complete this. It's pretty cool. It's not just something, you know, I always say like, I love history, but the history professors in the history department at Kent State University, they didn't live through the Roman wars. They didn't live through the Spanish Inquisition. They've read about it, right? But the things that we do, guys, our professors, we've seen it. We've done it. It's relatable to actually shit moving outside this door. Always, never forget that. I know I've said that a couple different times, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty important. Now, let's start talking about relationships. And I know there was someone, I think it was Sandy, who mentioned that earlier. We really want to kind of start talking about relationships. Here's where we're going to think about that. There's a start to start or finish to finish, indicate a lag, okay? Let me just pull up. Let me give you guys an example of what lag would be. Let's say I have pour concrete, okay? Let's say I'm gonna pour concrete today, okay? We're gonna pour our concrete floor. I'll even go so far as this. Oh, that's another thing too, guys. Make this stuff as descriptive as possible. Like pour concrete floor, like I've had all this fancy education and crap. Like literally, I write it as pour. Make it as simple as possible. Pour concrete floor. Could you get all sexy and put it in certain, you know, oh, this certain area with the concrete mix and make it all? Guys, make it simple. pour the damn concrete floor. We can all pretty much relate to that, right? So let's say we're pouring a concrete floor on today. And let's say we want to install flooring tile, and we have set that for 12/5/20. Physically, we can do that. Physically, you can pour a concrete floor today, and tomorrow, guys, if we came to the job site, you can walk on it. We could walk across it. It would be set up enough in 24 hours that you and I could walk across it and we couldn't draw little names in it. Physically, it makes sense that we can install the flooring tile tomorrow. We could put the glue down on that, physically on that concrete, and we could stick those carpet tiles right on top of there. However, the moisture content in the slab will make that flooring tile fail. There's moisture in that stuff. There's a certain amount of time period that you actually have to wait before you would apply another material on top of it. Our sequence of construction is sensitive to timing and quality and weather. So what we would call here now is we would install what is called a lag, okay? Where physically pouring that concrete floor makes sense, installing the flooring tile, yep, we can do that, but we would kick this down, and this might have to be 12. Typically, a concrete slab takes 28 days, guys, okay? So typically, let's say if we had 28 days, shit, we might be into something like that. Where again, physically, this can happen right away, but my God, and they're related to each other, but I can't start for a whole long time. I need to wait 28 days because my flooring tile will fail. It'll fall apart. Here's the beautiful part though, guys. As long as I have this information, now I can make a decision to adjust that. Here's what I could do. Hey, you know what? We need to make up some time in our schedule. We got these issues. We got all this shit going on. There's a chemical that we can use to put in the concrete to actually reduce the moisture content time. And I'm not sharing that information with you to like tell you about that. What I'm telling you is there are additives, there are mixtures, there are specific types of materials that can actually reduce your construction time. So let's say, hey, this pouring concrete floor, I'm going to include a moisture additive. I'm going to pay, there's always a trade-off now, right? I am going to pay more money, okay, to make sure that when we pour this concrete, there's going to be an additive in there or a special mix that there's a reduced amount of water vapor. And that's completely 100%, that is a real thing. And that's going to take my install flooring tile from 1/2/21, maybe back down to maybe not 12/5. We're not going to be able to do it the next day, but I might be 12/15/20. So what I'm saying is this moves, your schedule moves, but these lags represent, hey, whoa, we got to pause. Things are sensitive to timing. You can't paint something and just start like installing stuff right over top of it, right? Like we're very, very sensitive to this. We're going to go for about four more minutes, guys. Go to 9:45, and we'll take about a 5-10 minute break if you need to use the restroom, grab a drink of water or whatever like that. So again, just about 4 more minutes to just give you an idea. So that lag is very, very important relationship to understand. And that's when it's tough. I'll be honest, guys, like when you're green or newer to construction, I didn't know that. I didn't know I had to wait 28 days to to be able to install stuff over the concrete. I really was ignorant to that. And you will be. Like there's certain materials that we run into that I just never experienced before. Asking your subcontractors, asking the foreman in the field. I'm telling you guys, I have saved my ass in so many higher level project management meetings by going and taking a walk and talking to the people in the field. Hey, when do you think we could put that flooring down? And then they'll just start laughing. Shit, you got to wait 28 days, man. This concrete floor, this is going to be wet. And I'm just like, I'm gaining valuable information. I'm always, guys, a sponge because this helps give me information related to my schedules. So again, this lag represents the number of days before or after the activity where we got to say, whoa, we got to have a pause in there. If there is no lag, it means the earlier predecessor activity must finish prior to the start. So the finish to start relationship is the most common default relationship. We install drywall. The next thing that happens, we finish drywall. The rough drywall has to be installed, and then we do our finish coat. Boom. One has to be finished for the next one to immediately start. There's no lag. There's no dates in between. It's like literally you install the drywall, you go to finish it. So those relationships, again, are very project specific. They are very material specific. You got to know what types of materials you're using because they're really, really sensitive to timing. We'll finish this slide and then, like I said, take a break. So we love freaking abbreviations. We love this shit in construction management, guys. ES, you're going to see depicted as earliest start. What is the earliest possible day that we can start? And I get this information from subs, guys. You know, when we're generally creating our overview schedules, when I'm putting together just a general schedule, we haven't started construction yet. We're bidding on the damn thing. I'm putting in generalities, big picture line items. As long as my subcontractor inputted days are within that overall schedule, I'm good to go. So I ask the subcontractors, what's the earliest day you can start? What's the earliest time that we can finish? And if you look, guys, in our CPM method, it's very relatable up here to the PERT method. All we're doing is looking at the earliest and the latest, and we want to be in between, right? We want to be in between those dates. We can't be outside of them, but we're trying to find a happy medium. This is the hardest yet easiest thing that you can get. And what do I mean by that? I cannot teach you guys durations. I don't give a shit what anybody says. There is no book out there that says, there's no person out there that says, okay, when you go to install an 8-inch sanitary line, this is how much production you are going to get. There are too many variables. Weather, sequencing, material type. How many beers did I have at the Muni lot on Sunday night before I got there on Monday? And I'm not saying, it is pretty funny, but I've literally had crews before, guys, that they're hungover. Their production isn't the same. I mean, it's literally, I've ran into that before. Like, there's all these variables. It's life. Maybe I got a doctor's appointment at 9:30. I come to the job site. I just get sent in, and then I got to go. Like, everyday stuff runs into this. Why I say it's the easiest, because as your experience goes, as you guys get on jobs and see how long things take, that's how you build up your durations. That's how I know how long it takes to paint something or to install drywall. Also, you pick up the damn phone or you ask the question. I'll literally be talking to a sub and say, how long is it going to take you? What do you think? How long do you think it's going to take you to install this framing? And I'll sit there and they'll say, probably 6-7 days. And then I'll look back at my original schedule. Okay, I got 8 days for this. All right, I think that can work. Now, there are some items, okay, that have float. I like to consider the items that have float, like laid back, you're chilling. Okay, if it happens tomorrow, cool. If it happens Friday, we're okay. Those are those items that are important, but not as important. As long as you get them done within a range, they will not impact the end date of the schedule. That's an important differentiation there, guys. We need to know, like, what items will impact the end and what won't. So again, if I got an item that has float, if it happens next week, if it happens this week, it's okay. It won't affect the end date. The CPM method, identify those. We talked about these already, predecessors, successors, and we will jump in after break to those critical activities. So it's about 9:47 right now, guys. Let's maybe try to reconvene at about 9:57, about 10 minutes. Yeah, 9:57. This definitely will get started right away. 10 minutes. So I just want to take a break, use the restroom, whatever. Or if you have any questions as well. Oh, wait, did someone have a question? Anyone get their mics working, or Kyle, or let me see, Jason? Just curious if you guys wanted to chime in, or Yvonne, or anyone say hi. No problem. If not. Oh, and just as like, I'm not going to share any like content right now, but as we're just kind of sitting here give you guys a couple more minutes, I wanted to show you. I'm sure most of you guys are Cleveland area. This project, guys, is so badass. Intro. Intro. You know, they have all these, you know, jargony names and everything like that. But this one is intro, so I always forget kind of what it is. It is the tallest mass timber project in the country. And we're doing a lot of research right now to collect data on this thing. And guys, you know what the whole premise of why it's all wood? Schedule. They are saying that it is cost so much less money to build these buildings and bring them to market because time. You can, it's not that the material is that much cheaper. They are going to erect this building. This is what they're telling me. I think they're full of shit, but we're going to be there to document it. They're going to erect that building with a crew of 8 carpenters over like 4 weeks. 8 carpenters over 4 weeks building this. I'm just talking the structure, right? Building this big ass structure out of that. And you know why they said because it's time. It's time. It's time. They're reducing that much construction time, and they can bring these apartments to market that much faster. That means these apartments, if they can reduce construction time by 30%, right? They're bringing these units to market 30% faster. That's 30% more rental income that they're, you know, of time that they're bringing money in. Everything is about schedule, guys. It's so badass. It's all, literally the whole building is coming like packaged, prefabricated from Austria. And they're literally like, you can see these like vertical woods. It's all wood. It is literally all wood. So every project's unique, guys. This has all kinds of schedule deals that I mean, it's all about schedule. That is all they talk about. Go, go, go. We got to make this thing happen. All eyes on us type deal. So I just want to share that with you. Like every project we run into, even on big, you know, not all projects are sexy and cool and unique like this, but man, everything is so tied to the schedule. I don't know what's going on. Everything is. So I just, you know, wanted to talk about that. I'll give some more examples as we're going. So it's 9:57. We'll get started. You know, I'm projecting to be done somewhere between 12 and 12:30, something like that, to just give you guys an idea. So I'd like to just keep rolling kind of at the pace that we were. You can tell I talk pretty fast and go through stuff because I do like teaching this information. But again, please don't hesitate to stop me. Hey, what the hell did you just say right there? Because I get excited. I start going off. Like, I like this shit. So just want to reiterate that. So what is critical? Okay, this is what we're after. This is like the, you know, the elusive items that we're trying to find. What are those critical items? Because I'm going to tell you what we can do with these critical items once we identify them. The book definition, guys, and I'll give you examples on top of book definitions, is one that has no float, right? So if 1 day is added to the duration of the activity, 1 day will be added to the end date of the project. If I'm just looking as a generality at, like, I don't know, this intro project, we can probably, well, let's use, I want to go somewhere warm mentally here. Where's the new building? Here it is. Here's a great picture of it. This is a building I built. If I'm looking at this, not I by myself, obviously, if I'm looking at this, like critical items, we can start pulling out, like our roof is critical. Like this concrete, the structure is made out of concrete. That's critical. These fins that are out here that are shading these windows here, like, yeah, they're important. They're not critical. There are some items, guys, that we can just, I can rally off and just pick those off. Like, we know that. It's easy to identify, like, okay, is this palm tree important? Yeah, okay. But again, ain't damn as important as getting this foundation poured down here, right? It's easy to find those, like, upper level ones of us just bullshitting and talking through those. It's harder when you're sitting in there and you're like, okay, we got a $25 million project. There is a lot of stuff going on. This method will actually help find the information, like, that's in the weeds, right? Where you'll actually be able to say, like, this control cable, like if you look at this example, let me see if I can zoom in here. Like if we just use this and we say lay this control cable, guys, with my project management experience, I couldn't predict that that's going to be a critical activity. Excuse me, laying control cable. I don't know that. Like, I wouldn't think that would be like absolutely perfectly critical. We don't know that until we start getting into the weeds and putting information in and plugging different things and running through the critical path method. So what I'm getting at is, guys, there's easy stuff to really disseminate and pull out. Like, we'll know, no matter what, the damn roof is a critical activity. And it typically tends to be the items that have a lot of successors. Like, think about it. If we don't get our roof on, guys, we're not watertight. If we're watertight, we can't bring our doors in. We can't put our drywall up. We can't install insulation. So think about bigger ticket line items that have like a bigger domino effect if they don't happen, right? If I don't install this fin, it really doesn't have that much play or regard on someone else. Getting the windows in, that's a big damn deal. Now we can turn on the HVAC. Now we can control the indoor environment. Now we can, right? So like, think about those things. The more domino effect items they have, they are more traditionally aligned with being critical. So whenever you're looking at items, think about those. Now, what's really, really important is, where would I focus my pre-construction meeting time, my quality control time? When I'm having a pre-construction meeting, guys, and we're talking about all these things, you better damn believe I'm going to focus a lot of attention and have pre-construction meetings and use people's valuable time to talk about those critical items. Am I going to have a pre-construction meeting with 20 contractors? All right, everybody, we're going to have the fin installation meeting. Literally, guys, this was 2 dudes on a ladder tap conning these into here. Like, we got them. We literally had 2 laborers do them. Okay, boom, done. I'm not going to have a pre-construction meeting on that. Before we get these damn windows, you better believe we're going to sit down and we're going to have a meeting and we're going to document it. We're going to go through a completely different process than these things. That's why this method is so important. It helps you identify those. Now, the badass part is, once we've identified those, that's the easy part. If you put in a ton of work in generating your schedule and getting these relationships right from the beginning, or as close as you can, guys, it's just going to pay off down the road. Like I said, it's going to change. But if I have it laid out and I have that info, now I can play what if scenario games, right? Now I can say, hey, you know what? What if we spent some money and let's just say this control cable, I got a good relationship with the electrician. I think if I could kick him back a week, hey, we could add some value there. We can sit back and look at these items and start playing games. What if we did finish this a day earlier? What if, oh shit, what, we can move things around because it's all interconnected, guys. And that's another thing that's important, is having a method that is efficient. I don't want to have to change a day here and literally go down and physically change the rest of these. CPM's nice because it automatically updates this information. So we can see what activities benefit from acceleration. Why in the F would I spend money on the install grounding wire? Why would I pay them overtime to do that item? If it's a non-critical activity item, it doesn't bring back a day on the end date of my schedule. Like, who gives a shit, right? But if I do bring a day back on this item, I just went from January 2nd to January 1st. See, our critical path items work the opposite way too. Sure, we can lose a day on our critical path items and lose a day on our schedule, but you better believe we can make internal project management decisions and bring that shit right back. We can say to the owner, if you want your building owner a week earlier, we can pay X amount of overtime or do whatever, or do different types of quality materials or install the additives and actually start compressing the schedule back. You know the crazy ass part, guys? Excuse my language too. As professorial as I may seem, I'm a contractor at heart, guys. I like throwing my damn boots on. I like getting in the dirt. I'm a builder. I like to call myself at heart. So I do swear a little bit because I think I've just been around it so much. But this, guys, is, if you want to talk about time, this building, they told us, generates $10,000 a day. Every day that this building is open, the American University of the Caribbean, now known as DeVry, makes 10 G's a day. That's with students in there, staff, the whole 9 yards. They've calculated it down to the day. You better damn believe, when they told me that, when they left the meeting, I looked at the project, my assistant project manager, I said, dude, they care about schedule. They've quantified the days to us now. Like, it's 10 grand a day. We need to feel that kind of importance and urgency in our schedule, and we need to basically be hyper focused on that. Hey, think about it. If I can spend 5 grand and save the owner a day, whoa, now we're playing with a different formula here. Like, let's think about that. If they make $10,000 a day and I can bring a day back on the schedule for 5, hey, here's another cool part. When that happens, we typically make money. We make money on overtime opportunities. So what I'm getting at is there's a lot of variables. We need to make sure, guys, that we have the information in front of us because we can see what benefits from acceleration. Maybe we can make money off of it. Maybe there's an opportunity there. We never know unless you're in the middle of it and you have the tools in front of you like this. Another thing is we identify how change orders will affect completion dates. When we get a change order, guys, it not only affects money, it affects dates. The first day I was at Beechwood High School, guys, the first day, we cut into a wall to start doing demolition. The first thing that happened when we cut into that brick wall is insulation came out. I don't know if anyone has ever heard of this. Perlite. Yeah, that's what it is. So day one, I know you can tell I've probably got mild ADD because I like to go back and forth, but I swear every example that I show you is relative to this. So this comes out, guys. Perlite comes out, asbestos containing perlite. Day one, stop construction. Stop. Right? Stop. Get it tested. Go through all of the protocols, unforeseen condition, change order. What we're able to do in this methodology now is, because that obviously directly affected our schedule, I can now say, hey, not only do we need 50,000 bucks, we talk to our subcontractor and it's going to take 3 days to abate it. It's going to take 2 more days for tests. We not only need 50 grand, we need 8 days in our schedule. So I would then reflect them to that schedule and say, okay, as a part of my change order, okay, here's the change order documentation, here's the cost, it's $50,000, here's the reason, blah, 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 blah. Oh, and by the way, here's our updated schedule that now shows us from January 1st to January 7th or whatever. Now they might say, oh my God, oh shit, I don't want it to be January 7th. Well, okay, Mr. and Miss Owner, we can play the what if scenario game. Let's say we work overtime and do these different things. The value is we're giving the owner opportunities, we're giving them options to complete those. Now, if an activity that has float, and if we just ignore it, it can obviously turn into a critical activity. Like if it allows, like if we just completely ignore putting in the exterior landscaping, like it will turn into critical because it's still a requirement of the end date of our project. So we oftentimes have these items with float. Like I said, they can happen across different days. Just make sure that it will cause delays. We can't just completely ignore those smaller items. Now, again, we can help prioritize these activities. We can help now determine when materials needed to be delivered. So when I'm creating schedules, guys, I'm also thinking about procurement of items. Procurement's basically we're receiving that item. When I was creating the schedule, I would have line items of procurement. It would say, order these fins, order or have a pre-construction meeting, or are submittals approved. Use the schedule to help make sure keep you on track. Because remember, guys, we're in commercial construction. Like you don't just call up, I don't call up Home Depot and I'm like, yeah, I need 6 of these metal fins. Oh yeah, aisle 22, bay 17. Shit, they got to be fabricated, they got to be approved, they got to be blah, 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 blah. We got to build and plan for that in our schedules. Another really cool thing, and this is now when you're starting to really play high-level games, is we can start to affect cash flow. If an item has float, like let's think about that. If an item is non-critical and it has float, okay, it can move around. It could happen here or it could happen there. It's okay. We have some time. We can now start to push cash flow, right? Because remember, these line items also represent money. When you dig the cable trench, you're expending project monies, expenditures. If I can do the erect steel structure, if I can move it from February to March, I just now moved cash flow. I moved from getting that bill for 30 days. That erect steel structure could be $1 million bill, right? Like this latest project I just did, guys, I won't go too much into the weeds, but I'm the own developer, I'm the owner, I was writing the checks myself, let's just put it that way. I know how important cash flow is. It was valuable for me to push certain contractors off into another billing cycle. It buys you time as an owner. Sometimes our owners are sensitive to that. Now we can start playing, hey, we can move monies across time. If I know items that have float, I can start playing with money. Really, really critical to understand. And that's stuff, guys, where you start learning in like advanced kind of scheduling courses, right? Where you would take, like, we teach Primavera P6 over 16 weeks. Like, you could spend years training on schedule. I'm not even exaggerating, training on scheduling. There is a ton of information and tools and all this stuff out there. And the great part is, You don't have to get into all that fancy stuff. You have to understand, obviously, the foundation. But I'm just letting you know, like, there's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of things that you can do with manpower loaded schedules and adding resources, and all these crazy things that I'll give you examples of today. But there's a whole wide world out there of these scheduling methods. Anytime we have a project consisting of several activities, the CPM can help define it. If you guys go through the process and the methodology of it on a small project, it might help you identify, those of you who don't have a lot of experience, what critical items are. You know, guys, my dad's a lawyer. My mom was a nurse. My brother was a football coach. When I stepped into construction management, I had literally like painted shit around the house with my parents. I had hung up pictures. Like, I'd never been on a job site. So sometimes this methodology, if you do some research and look at it, it might help you just say, wow, okay, all right, concrete foundations. Then we put in the slab. Then we did it. It just may help you with understanding sequencing. A few hours spent planning and organizing that project can eliminate days, weeks, or months. And that's what we're trying to do, is eliminate time and increase efficiency. Remember, what we're doing when we're really creating our schedule, even if you're not using a fancy network logic diagram, we're just giving our vision for the entire project. Now, a really, really important thing to consider about this is we usually give our vision of the entire project at the beginning of the project, like when we're selling the project. When I'm running day-to-day projects, guys, like when I'm on day-to-day operations, we're looking at 2-week snapshots, 3-week snapshots, look-aheads. You'll see, and everybody does it a little bit differently, even if you just looked at a basic 2-week look-ahead schedule. We break these things out in smaller sections because we want to have achievable goals. Look how simple this is, guys. And I'm going to show you my bar chart here in a minute and how to create some. It could literally be this simple. But I am not going to sit every meeting and have a 30-page schedule that shows 50 freaking line items down, all the way down here, that shows us from the beginning to end. Okay, let's look in the middle of it. No, we're going to break it out into smaller sections so we can talk about detailed activities throughout the week. So you want to set smaller, achievable goals. And you know what's really cool? You start really building up confidence. When you hit these dates early on, you start to build that confidence. You start to build that buy-in with subcontractors. Hey, Anthony kind of knows his shit. We're hitting all these dates. We're aligned pretty good. We're working together good as a team. The earlier you kind of set that up, the more manageable it is. So it's weird. You make a really quick transition from like generating this big, huge schedule for the whole project down to like, okay, what's happening this week and next week? Or some people do 4-week look-aheads or 3-week look-aheads, but the premise is all the same. And again, I'll give you guys a template that I have that I used. You can have it. I could care less. There is a million templates online. If you're decent in Excel, I can even show you how to walk through and start creating one. It's just get well versed with this stuff. Again, I'll show you guys general examples here in a little bit, and I'll give you the templates, like I said. But it could just be something as simple as this and as small as snapshots as you can make it. And it helps us plan. Hey, we're setting steel next week. All right, well, let's have a conversation. What do we have to do before then? Very, very detailed and forced planning. And that's why I tell you guys, like, when you're creating your overall P6 schedule and you have, or not even P6, just your overall schedule, and you have like, 500 line items and it's all this crazy shit going on. When you start breaking it out during construction, it's really where you hone a lot of this stuff. Like this, you can see, guys, is a very specific to certain things, right? Traffic control. It looks like we're doing a lot of plumbing, right? We're flushing. There's water and storm stuff. There's a lot of like just plumbing stuff going on. Yeah, that's when you can start playing around and saying, ooh, we need to do 5 before 4 And you can flip these things around during construction. They change. Now, generally, we want to be close, right? But when we're just really creating our big picture type stuff, man, you can get really into the weeds. Save that for the 2-week look aheads, the 4-week look aheads, the detail forced planning. Again, do all these things have to be on your P6 schedule? No. When you get into that detailed planning, that's where they want to start showing up. It is, I would argue, I will make this statement, it is the most effective scheduling and planning system. Is there a new one that's going to come out in the future and be better? I don't know. I can't predict that. But to date, guys, it's what all the big players typically use. Again, on projects that are worthy of it. Because one of the downsides is there is a lot of money, there is a lot of resources, there is a lot of time and training that you need to put into being able to generate these. There's no doubt about that. But you guys are obviously in the right place by being here because it's a great first step. Visual advantage obviously can't be overlooked. We talked about that earlier. I don't want to go too crazy. As another person, this is also what you need to think about because you're going to be, developers are going to be looking at this schedule, architects are going to be looking at the schedule, and they have different varying degrees of backgrounds. Whenever you're sitting there looking to generate a schedule, just ask yourself, like, if you were just a person removed from the project, could you have a general understanding of what we were coming across? Like, if you were a developer, would it make sense? Like, guys, I make them very, very simple, like cut asphalt and dig trench, steel erection, main building slab subgrade. I try to make them very simple so that developer or whoever, and I ask myself, could someone reading this who is not on our project visualize this? So when you're having, I could talk about this shit all day, guys, but here's another important aspect. How detailed, how much information do you include in your schedule? I always err on the side of this. If someone was sitting there reading my schedule, would they have enough information to really kind of know what's going on? You know, I could do this 2-week look ahead, guys. I could, or a big schedule like this, I could add 50 more line items to this if I want. I could make this layout new walls so detailed. I could put layout northeast corner, inspect northeast corner, layout northwest. I mean, you could just extrapolate, expand, make this thing insane if you wanted to. When I'm trying to determine how much detail to include or not, I try to think of, again, who's reading it? Could they understand where the project is at this point in the schedule? Again, it allows us to play that what if scenario game. We can perform that cost benefit analysis. If I pay money here, will I get the reward back? Will that cost benefit analysis be worth it? And that's a lot tied into your actual individual items. A lot of times the cost benefit analysis really can come from subcontractors, guys. You know, your subcontractors are going to be the ones who are really dialed into these projects, who are really on the cutting edge of the latest equipment, techniques, and technology to make this stuff cheap, or to make it cheaper, or to come up with ways to cut costs. So that cost benefit analysis, I'll typically perform it with subcontractors there. Hey, what can we do? Asking that, even if you have a good plan, guys, even if you know, like, hey, this is what we want to do to kind of cut costs, or we need to hit this much money, getting that input from the subcontractors, again, brings buy-in. In these schedules, these subcontractors see the importance of their line items, that if they don't complete it, the project doesn't get complete. Right? Same thing with cost benefit analysis. Hey, what can we do to save money? And I communicate it to everybody very early, and I'm going to communicate it to you guys here. Let's just cut all this shit. We're all here to make money. Like, I usually say this in my first job sent me. We're here to make money. We're here to deliver a building to the client. We want to do more projects for this client. we want to do more business with all of us here, right? Like everybody wants to look good. We all want raises and bonuses and make money. That's what we're here to do. The more we openly communicate and have input into the schedule, the probably better odds that we're going to have that we're actually going to do that. If you can tie those folks' performance directly to that schedule, like I said, I will literally, I'll just take this schedule, I'll throw it in the middle of the table, and I'll grab a cup of coffee. And I'll listen. And I've heard the most innovative ways. I've gained more of an education from listening to foremen and subcontractors talk than I think any PhD program could give me. Like I said, I can't underestimate how important that is. I'm not going to get too much more into fluffy type stuff, but it really, really is important for them to see that input on their total process, to receive input from those prime subs and stakeholders. I include this in here. I'll share that page 433. It's just kind of a fun, football is a construction project, but really what it comes down to is everybody knows their job, role, and the play. That's what I've had meetings before where they've been so long and so intricate, and I'm sure you guys have been in them. I would listen, and I heard subs walk out, and I would say, and I'd hear them say, "So what are we doing? What do we got going on?" I failed. You know, at that point, you failed. So what we need to make sure is they know their job, they know the role, they know what's coming forward, and also that information gets communicated to the folks in the field. The people that we meet with on the scheduling level, that's great and all. We have to make sure that specific information is getting disseminated to the folks putting the work in place. So when you're generating a schedule, guys, when you're thinking about this, you need to know, what is their role? Have I communicated it to them? Have I documented it? Is everybody on the same page? Everything I present, guys, I talk about disadvantages. I present the pluses and the minuses. As you climb up in intricacy in getting, I'm going to do this P6 Primavera, and as I'm going to do this fancy dancy kind of crap. Well, P6 is about $2,000. And sometimes subcontractors don't want to invest or have the time or the money to do, have these really fluent softwares. I will tell you guys this. Am I going to tell you all to go out and spend $2,000 and download Primavera or take some advanced class? Hell no. As long as you have a good foundation and you've kind of taken courses like this, maybe got into another advanced schedule, it's very transferable skills. When you get within an organization or you hire in with a company, they're typically going to have a framework that trains you on that information. So again, as long as you have a good foundation, you should be able to communicate it across teams. Now, some general contractors and construction managers require in the contract that the subcontractors, in order to qualify to bid, actually have P6 software or have a scheduling software that they could provide update functions to. That's rare. It's typically on big projects, but that might limit some subcontractors to what they can do. But for the most part, guys, if you're on my job and you're a subcontractor working under me, as long as the schedule updates that you give me are accurate, I can read them, I can input them into our overall schedule, I could give two shits. That's me personally. Some project managers say, no, I don't want to spend any time to input the schedule. The subs should have to update it. No, me, as long as I'm getting the right, accurate information, I'm cool. So just make sure you understand what the operating procedure is for that individual project, and then you're following them. A lot of times, and like why you guys are here, providing in-house training, bringing somebody in and doing like a group rate type of thing. Those opportunities are out there. We teach a scheduling course, obviously, on campus at Kent State. I don't know the exact cost of that, but there's some stuff that are out there. I would view that as a disadvantage. This is about as theoretical as we're going to get. I like to just share this with you of how important these really specific things are. This is called Pareto's Law. Basically, it's a vital few and trivial of many. And why I'm even talking about this, guys, is it's relatable back to essentially 20% of our activities account for 80% of the results. Roughly 80% of our management problems are caused by 20% of our people. Just think about some of these things. 80% of your management problems are caused by this small amount of people. Those 20%, I bet how many people right now in your minds, there's people running through your heads like, yep, I know who that effing guy or gal is, right? That person I manage or I work with, or just like, this person is just shit, cause of all my freaking problems, a small section. Roughly 80% of our daily results come only from 20% of the items on our to-do list. And to-do lists, which we'll talk about, are really integral in generating schedules. Because we're going to jump into next creating a basic schedule and really getting into the weeds a little bit. But you should take these to heart. They're generalities that are basically proven to be pretty damn true, guys. 20% of the activities account for 80% of the results. Invest the majority of your time and your monies and your efforts in the critical activities, and it will generate the majority of the results. Think about this, guys. Let's go back to St. Martin. No, let's go to, let's travel to St. Martin really quick. Oh, here's a great picture from the bay. No, that's a different one. There's a good nice picture of it, right? So let's say we're there. And let's say I really invest a lot of effort and scheduling and thought process and planning on the real critical activities of this project. The foundations, the roofing of these structures, the big ticket items. The more focus I put on quality and driving the schedule on this, guys, that other 20% that Pareto is kind of talking out here, because remember, just those specific activities are going to account for 80%. That's not all of it, right? 80% of the results. Because remember, our critical path activity are the majority of the results. So if I put that effort in there, there's still shit that's out there that I got to worry about. But what we're saying is, the more money and time and effort I put into this, the other stuff follows. The other non-critical activities, they come easy when all this important stuff, guys, is done. Right? Like the painting in here comes easy when the foundation and the walls are laid out perfect. The framing comes out, or the tile work comes out really good. The more quality time that you put in the straightness or the levelness of the walls. So the more effort you typically put in to critical 20% of those activities, the rest of the shit comes. Because typically those items, I'm not downplaying their importance or the skill required to do them, but they're typically not as hard to do. If my walls and concrete foundations and my structural steel and my drywall is done right, the other shit comes easy. So really think about this, guys. Focus majority of your attention, not all of it, to those critical activities, and it just pays off dividends. Now, I show you this because no matter how you really flip or represent or present a schedule, look at, guys, the general attributes. Whether I showed you a network logic diagram, whether I'm going to show you, a bar chart down here, it's showing the same damn information. It shows a task name. What is the actual activity item, right? It gives it an ID. Everything you all do in construction, whether it's estimating or scheduling or whatever the F it is, guys, You have to give it an actual activity ID. It's too hard. There's too much things going on. I'll even show you really quick. I'm working on an estimate. Just pull up my drive really quick here. Huge hotel project, all this stuff going on. When I'm working on it with colleagues, I don't say, hey, let's look at the plumbing, toilet, remove and install. No, I say line item 79. When it's in my estimate, it's line item 79. When I put it in my schedule, I would then take that same sequencing number over and I'd say, all right, line item 79. I want to translate and relate if I'm generating estimates across my schedules, tie it into something consistent. Every activity item needs to have a representative ID because, guys, it's just too much. There's just too much shit going on. You'll never be able to track it and find that information. It sucks. But if you invest early on and you really have a nice little sequencing system put up, makes your life a hell of a lot easier. But if you're looking at generating a schedule, guys, here are the core really attributes that you want to look at. You have a task name, you have an ID, you have a duration. How long is that individual item going to take? You have a start and a finish date represented here. And you can see relationships, right? So you can see a critical activity that has to be completed before the next activity has to happen. The arrow represents the relationship that these items are connected. Now, here's a downside a little bit to P6, and this is why we break it out into little 2-3 week type things. This is like, looks like spaghetti to me, right? Like, this is getting into the weeds. It's kind of confusing. There's all these arrows going on. So that's why I say formatting and the way that you present it and breaking it out into smaller sections makes it that much easier to disseminate. But guys, whether you're writing it on a piece of paper or doing it on a $2,000 P6 Primavera program, it's saying the same damn thing. I've always thought, like, I'm not really smart. I'm not smart, guys. Like, people, like, I've always been an average student. I had to fight to get into my PhD part. I mean, I barely kind of get through, but I've been really good at just cutting through the shit, right? What you really want to do on these schedules is just try to cut through the shit. Make it clean, make it concise, cut through like, just get down to the root cause of how you want to do this thing, of how you want these contractors to perform the work. And really, that's where I've seen the most success. So let's talk now about creating a schedule. I am not bullshitting you guys here. Even with my experience, okay, even with your guys' experience, even with a 30-year project manager out there somewhere, the first thing I do is take a piece of paper out, a pen, whatever, and I just start writing. The first thing I start out with is a checklist. I'm writing down general items, okay? So I might create this checklist, right? And let's pull up just a random building. Oh, you know what? I'll tie it into this example that I'm giving you right now. This is actually for a downtown Marriott in Philadelphia. Okay, and we were talking about this last class, estimating one as well. So let's just, and obviously I'll have construction drawings and everything, right? But downtown, you can see I was obviously Googling cost for it. Oh, I'm sure it's going to send me to all kinds of crazy stuff as far as images or pictures. But what I'm trying to get at here is, guys, come on. Is I'll even look at exterior pictures as I'm looking through the drawing. I'll just start writing line items. Right? I'll just start jotting stuff down. Okay, we've got a huge hotel, 14 stories. I'll just start writing down dumpsters. All right, we're going to renovate all the rooms. We're going to have access, elevator chute or elevators. Where are we going to park? We're going to start from the top. I'll literally just write down general stuff. And as I write that down, it starts triggering things for me. Because what we need to identify is, hey, if we do have a 14 or 17 story hotel or whatever, like, how's that going to affect our schedule? It's going to bring up sequencing questions, access questions. All these things start spurring out of me just writing general inquiries that I have down. Then it starts relating to, oh, okay, if I have to get to the 14th floor, how am I getting there? Or how am I getting materials? Well, we might need a crane. And then you'll start identifying resources that you're going to need. So I could be like, all right, well, I have a line item here, right? And the line item says install new rooftop HVAC units. How the hell am I going to get it up there? So that checklist helped me say, well, we're going to need a crane. Well, if I need a crane, we're going to need to have pre-construction meetings. It's going to be a huge cost, and it's going to be, so all these questions and issues start running through your head. That's what this checklist is supposed to do, guys. It seems stupid simple. It's like, well, I'll even write down items that I know in my head. I'll write down drywall because there'll be specific projects, guys, where there's a unique thing that I didn't encounter in drywall. You know how hard it, ooh, let me show you this. They give us a picture. Come on, please. Hold on, it's worth it. It's worth it for me to find this for you because it's such a great example of a really unique drywall thing that we ran into that I had never. Okay, there should be a picture. I don't know, I'll have to find it for you. It's going to drive me crazy, guys. But there's an interior elevation that we did in here with a huge lecture hall that we had to literally do this really crazy reveals with drywall. So what I'm getting at is, like, there is simple items like drywall or framing that could be on a site-specific job that's like really hard to do. Yeah, I wish I knew they had like a picture, like, let me see. You could take a tour. Wait, this might be at St. Martin campus. Academic resources, labs. Come on, give me the. Oh well, I digress. We'll go back. But basically, it could just be literally drywall, and this drywall ceiling was like 60 feet in the air, guys. So it could be something simple that we see every day, painting, drywall, plumbing, whatever, but it has unique project characteristics about it that helps me bring up these issues. And then when I'm in job site meetings and stuff, guys, it's like I'm so knowledgeable about it. I'm just like, yeah, how are we going to get up there? Because in the planning stages, I knew these challenges because I simply wrote them down. I also include ball and court. Who's responsible for those items? Am I supposed to get the scaffolding? Am I supposed to get the crane? Am I supposed to get all these different things? Everything in construction and specific to scheduling, guys, we want to say ball and court. We want to assign it to someone, right? We want to make sure someone is responsible for completing that activity. We can put a due date needed if appropriate. Yeah, I need it by this date. This is when this is due. I'll include that in the schedule. Okay, so then I go to checklist. Like, what are all the general things that I need? That helps me bring up the to-do list. This is the tough part, guys, because it's so much generating the to-do list. This is the hard part. Order the list of activities. Okay? Order the list of activities. Let me just, if we're talking new construction, guys, as a gross generality, okay, as just saying, you know, as from a basic standpoint, you always want to think about buildings from the ground up. So when you're listing or thinking about activities, folks, you typically always want to start in the site or foundation drawings. You start from the ground up. Now, when you're generating a to-do list, it usually, you know, I always maybe start from like, you could start from permits. These are like general line items that I'll always include in schedules to just kind of get the blood flowing, to get you thinking about certain items. And I'll just start writing them down. Maybe this will be mobilization. That would be getting our job site trailers. That would be, you know, getting our toilets and stuff, you know, kind of put up. Getting our job site address, all these different things. Then very quickly, you really, one of the first items we always run into that I always see is grading or excavation. You have to get the site prepared. Usually then after that, you're running into some form of a foundation layout. And again, guys, I'm just giving you just some general items to think about to really get you started. Now, here's what's real important. Typically on like big ticket line items, like we know our foundation is going to be critical. Like we can make that assumption. I'll usually include like inspections for only critical items. So like after we lay out our foundation, it might be install, or wait, it might be dig foundation, install rebar for foundation. And then in this line item, I might include inspection. Because remember, it's hard, right? Like it's hard to determine how much in the weeds or details are we going to go. But again, I'd err on the side of I would only put inspections for critical type items. Okay. So again, you're usually starting in the permits, the mobilization, the grading, the foundation layout. You're going to dig that foundation, and then you start going vertical. Right? So again, just start ordering, or I start actually just listing activities. Now, the beautiful part is I'll pull a lot of these activities, guys, from the construction drawings. Like, let's just take a look. I'll just show you some drawings that I have. There are so many activity items, guys. Wait, let me zoom in. I use the drawings to generate line items. It'll say right in the notes what you need to perform. Demo tile, glue down flooring, paint wall. If I'm having problems coming up with items, I relate to the drawings. Look at this, guys. If you're having problems with schedule items, start looking at the drawings. I'll just start writing down. All right, we're going to have to remove wall-mounted things. We're going to have to retain. All right, we're going to leave. And if you go through the detailed drawings and write down and think about every one of these, my God, it pays dividends, guys. When I'm on phone calls and stuff, I'm so knowledgeable about this, I don't even look at my notes. Because during the schedule process, I looked at these items. I went through these items. I wrote down in a checklist, to-do list, all these items. Now, I'm not saying you do that on a $10 million project for every single line item. But as you start disseminating information, you can pick out information or important information. Now, this was a huge hotel renovation. So the cool part about this is, guys, when I'm thinking about my schedule, these notes represent 1,400 rooms. So when I'm writing down my schedule and I'm talking in my meetings, these are basically like the whole scope of work, big ticket items. But my God, it's so valuable to say, yeah, we're going to have to install toilet accessories. We're taking out the existing tile. We're putting new tile over top. We're ripping, like, you're just knowledgeable about it. So that to-do list is literally just writing down those items. Then I'll start to say, okay, now that I have all these items written down, what needs to go where? What of these happens first? What happens last? What trades are going to be doing that? Who's going to be removing your wall-mounted accessories? Is it the same person who's installing the plumbing? We need to know now, after we've created our checklist and our to-do list, how the actual functions are going to be performed. After I've written them down, who is going to remove the tile? I need to know that because I need to understand sequencing. If I'm going to have 5 different contractors doing 5 different items, and I might not know this early on, guys, I need to know that because I can't schedule 5 trades to be in the same room at the same time. So again, just to reiterate, checklist. What are the big items, the big things that I need to think about? Tools, equipment, blah, blah. What are the to-do lists? What items are we actually performing? And then we start thinking about sequencing and who's performing them. It's a stepped process. If you follow the steps, it makes it easier. Because I know that some of you are looking at these drawings or you've looked at drawings in the past and you're like, holy shit, look at all this stuff that's going on. But if you break it down into these really simple steps, you're going to look back and be like, holy shit, that crazy bastard Anthony was kind of right. Like, okay, I have a better understanding of what this project is by taking out a damn piece of paper, taking out the drawings, and just thinking about, all right, we're doing a hotel renovation. What do I need? What do we got to do? Then I can start playing with organization. Guys, I will move these items around a million different ways. I don't just put it on paper and it's like God's gift to earth of scheduling. Oh my God, Anthony, this is perfect. Don't lose yourself in that. Don't lose sleep over that. Make sure you capture all your scope. You have a general idea of what has to happen. The weeds discussions will happen when you get in the room with those experts. Now I say, hey, what's the best way to do this thing? I didn't know until I talked to the subcontractors about this project, the best way to sequence a huge project. You're supposed to start at the top. You start at the 15th floor. We're going to put up a chute at the top. So that way our employees do not have to take the elevator down to throw the shit in the dumpster. I didn't know that until I asked the question. Then I said, okay, it's going to make sense to do that. Now I need to write down on my checklist, we're going to have an exterior trash chute. There's nothing, guys, on the construction drawings that told me to do that. There's nothing in here that tells me the means and methods to do this. It's our experience. It's our subcontractor input that drives that. So like I said, I'm not so much a content expert as a knowing how to get the right answers and accurate information expert. Because I rely on specialty subcontractors to verify and provide that information. So again, guys, I'm writing down. I'm literally writing these things down. It sounds stupid. It sounds simple. But my God, does it just help me wrap my head around this stuff. Okay? So then, like I said, now I can start to prioritize. We don't even have to go through the critical path method yet to start prioritizing items. I know like what important items are right off the top. Just think about it. Think about big ticket long items. Now we then analyze what was not completed and we need to reprioritize for those next line items. What did I miss? Shit, I'm not comfortable with what's going on in the corridors. In this project, in this hotel renovation, guys, it's not just the guest rooms. All the corridors get renovated too. So maybe I'm sitting here today and I'm saying, all right, well, I got to now work on those corridors. I need to document that. So please, there's all this fancy bullshit that's out there, computerized scheduling methods and CPMs and P6, and I can never underestimate a piece of paper and a pen, guys. Pull out the drawings, just start writing activities down. What do we have to do? And it just should start triggering things in your head. Obviously, include that ball in court. And we start coming up with general time frames. Start out wide. You know, I'm writing my dissertation right now, and it's like I had this big delusions of grandeur, like I was going to solve the world's problems about this issue I'm looking into. And my advising committee's like, dude, you're way too broad. Specific, get specific, get specific. But just start broad. Get ranges. Have a general range of what an activity is actually going to take you, how long to do. And then you start drilling down to the specifics. Now, the main difference is the checklist is what you need to make sure you have in order to complete the task. The checklist, guys, is all those extracurricular things. Now, I'm not going to say that you need to write a checklist, okay? And you need to say, all right, I have layout new walls. And for a checklist, I don't think you should write down a screwdriver. I'm not trying to make you guys sound dumb. I'm just trying to give you an example. Like, don't write down chalk. Don't write down basic construction tools that are just going to take up a majority of your day. We want to include things in our checklist that actually take some planning to kind of put together. As we were going through this, let's see here, where did I see that picture? I'll give you an example. Oh, perfect. Actually found one fast for once. Like scaffolding. See all this scaffolding that's on the front of this building? I was down there at some point. I was physically there at the time that they took this picture, which is kind of cool. Scaffolding is a basic tool, guys. But man, that's a huge thing that I would include in the schedule. Because it's that important. You know, I said, oh, you don't want to include a screwdriver. That's true. And you might say, well, Anthony, scaffolding, like, that's a pretty simple tool. Like, contractors have scaffolding. But I would include something like that because there is planning. Look at that. There's sequencing. We are going to take up the whole front of the building. Now, lock in with me here. We only got about an hour, 15 minutes, hour left. This is an important concept. Think about this as a resource. Okay? What do I mean by that? This damn scaffolding can be utilized by other contractors. It can be utilized by other items on our list. I will write down scaffolding. I'll circle the thing and then I'll sit there and say, oh, fuck. You know who else can use this thing? Our window contractor. You know how nice it is to be able to get these windows installed and be able to walk across a nice, beautiful scaffolding and just stand there instead of being on a lift? Wow. Now we can start sharing resources. Hey, we need a crane. That crane resources can be shared across a multitude of contractors. Now I start with scaffolding. Now I start drawing lines and I'm saying, okay, we can do it. And we can literally have a resource on our building or during our phase that multiple contractors are utilizing, which drives efficiency and cost. It might be the window contractor. Like, think about this, guys. The scaffolding contractor has to put this up no matter what. It literally might be in the field that this window contractor buys this guy a case of beer that they could use this scaffolding. It literally might not even be a hindrance for this contractor that's going to be doing the exterior stucco. They could care less. Hey, if you guys work, while we're doing the stucco over here, if you want to use our scaffolding, put the windows in, buy me a damn beer. Buy me a case of beer. I've literally horse traded deals like that, where it's just so simple and easy. It's like, dude, it's already up. Go use it. We don't care. You drive those little things by having that buy-in in the field, and just start thinking, hey, where's some areas that we can overlap benefits? And because I facilitated so much teamwork, literally a case of beer got me that. It's like, yeah, hey, and guess what? We reduced construction time, we reduced costs for the window contractor, and everybody was happy over a simple solution. Can't underestimate the simple things that can come out of this. So remember, that checklist is, what are those big ticket items? Scaffoldings, cranes, inspections, or any big ticket, whatever. Those checklist items are what is needed to complete those. And remember, the to-do list is the list of activities needed to complete the tasks. Okay, we have to pour concrete. What do we need to do? And break it down like that, guys. Let's say our overall goal is to install drywall in the auditorium. God, I wish I could show you that damn picture. It's driving me crazy. Maybe if we take a little break here in a little bit, I'll use that time to find it. But install drywall in the auditorium. Break it down this way. Okay, what do I need to install drywall in the auditorium? Like, you guys can break this down as small as you want to. Well, I need to get it. It's an auditorium. It's 30 feet high. I need a lift. I need the framing to be done. I need all the MEP systems to be inspected and ready to go. Like, just start writing out lineup. Well, hey, guess what? I need freaking drywall. Hey, guess what? I need manpower. Like, just start writing, like, what do you need to get the drywall done? You know, I did this last project, the building that I'm actually sitting in right now, guys. It's an old schoolhouse my wife and I renovated. And again, like I said, one of the things that I really missed about, I wish I had, was real world experience. I had seen walls being framed a million times. I've never done it myself. So when I would go down, and remember, I like did majority of this myself, and I would say, okay, I need to frame this room. I need to install metal framing in this room. What do I need? And I would literally go to Home Depot with a list of what I needed. I'm like, this is exactly what we do in scheduling. I needed screws. I needed studs. I needed layout material. I literally just wrote out, like, what do I need to actually put this in place? That's what that is, guys. So that's why I say, do not underestimate getting on a job site and understanding what goes into installing drywall in the auditorium. Listen to the folks in the field bitch. I hate doing this damn ceilings. We got to put it on these carts and you got to roll the scaffolding over. What am I starting to think? Well, hey guys, if we're installing drywall in an auditorium, I'm probably less efficient. Now you start to gain your kind of like, wow, now when I'm installing ceiling on drywalls or in tough areas, I'm building my experience of, that's tougher. It's going to take me longer. It's going to drive more manpower to be able to complete that. The only way I know that is by seeing it, guys, by listening to the folks in the field. Oh, Anthony, it's a pain in the ass. We got to go get the drywall from the outside. We got to bring it in. I got to put it up on this effing thing. I got to take it all the way to time. Where if we were in the corridors, I'd just be standing there doing it. And now I'm starting to shape and become a really good scheduler, guys. That's how you become a scheduler. If we're installing drywall on a ceiling versus on the walls, I know there's an inefficiency there, and I'm going to reflect that in my schedule. And now when you hand that schedule to the foreman in the field, and it shows that they have more time to do the ones on the drywall, they say, you know what, this effing Anthony, he gets it. Because some of the biggest disconnects we see, guys, are from us sitting up in our cushy little offices in our warm coffee and saying, oh, they could do that in 5 days. And then they get that in the field and they go, this person is full of shit. But man, if I've got that interjected into my schedule, that I know those little nuances, they respect that. Oh, thank Anthony gets it. He's given us more time to do these. Like, he knows what we have to work through. The combination of those things are the basis for that schedule, guys. It consists not only of the organization of materials, but its labor, its resources, everything necessary to complete the milestone tasks. We're going to break that out here too in the next hour, is milestone tasks versus our overall tasks. But hopefully you're understanding the importance, and hopefully you're understanding of how simple it is. Like, there's people who have literally been in the industry for 30 years, CEOs of damn construction companies, that take out a piece of paper, they take out a pen, they start writing shit down, and start talking, right? And that's why I've learned a ton in construction management as far as ask questions, guys. I'm gonna, you know, as we finish, I want to ask question. I want to finish a little early for you guys to ask them. There's no stupid questions. I will ask people in the field. For the most part, they love telling you. So, God, and it just builds your framework for generating these schedules. The more questions you ask, the more shit you've seen, the more stuff you relate to people in the field, it'll accurately show in your schedules. So let's talk about individual steps. This is how I do it for creating a bar chart. Now, I played football. I played sports all my life. I played college football, Kent State. I played linebacker. I've had my head bashed in a million times. What I'm trying to say is, the way I say I'm creating stuff might be a little redundant. You might say, well, Anthony, I don't like the way you do that. That doesn't make sense. Great. Do it your own way. Do what works for you. These are just the steps and processes I follow and identified that works for me. When I do my estimates, I will do shit like 3 and 4 times over. And people in my class are like, what are you doing? And I keep telling them, don't follow my process. Develop your own. What works for you? I double and triple check my work because I screw shit up. Because I'm working on huge Excel spreadsheets like I was showing you guys, and there's a million different things going on, and I need to triple check my work because I'll screw up. Okay? So when I talk about these things, keep that in mind. Okay, so when we're creating that, guys, always across the top, we are making sure that we include our dates. Okay? Now, our dates can be represented a million different ways. You know what? I'll kind of build one with you as we're going through to just show you some basic Excel stuff. I'm not going to do one as pretty as the one that's behind here, but I'll just put in some kind of simple stuff to give you some examples. Excel, there's a ton of tutorials. There's a ton of opportunities to continue education in Excel. It's a huge form of information and sharing of information in construction management, guys. So if you're not well versed with it, start getting more and more comfortable with it. I'm not saying you got to be like, you know, create all kinds of crazy formulas and shit, but you should be able to filter and be able to present information like nice and kind of pretty like this. But as far as dates across the top, it depends how you're generating your schedule, right? But if we're doing a 2-week look ahead, you look at my example back here, this is a 4-week look ahead. Depending on what type of schedule it is going to drive your dates that you're represented, right? Like there could be, if this is an overall schedule, I've seen them done like this. Represented like quarters, right? Like this is the first quarter of the year, the first quarter of the second quarter of the year. This could be a huge overall schedule. It could be months, so on and so forth, right? It could be Monday, it could be Tuesday, whatever it is, just make sure it's specific to the bar chart you're presenting. That's pretty common sense, right? But as long as we're having a date represented across the top that's concurrent to what we want to represent, that's what's important. All right, so we want to make sure we show those dates because that is the damn most important thing that we want to do, is get our dates right. You can see in this one, I actually include like 5/31, 6/1, 6/2, and the day of the week. Guys, do it any way you freaking want, as long as it's pretty and easy to read. This worked. It was cool. Our subcontractors were cool with it. Create any kind of colors you want, whatever. As long as it works, don't give a shit. So don't get too caught up on that. So next, okay, we want to put the dates, obviously, that work. Some schedulers use number of days. Like I said, it doesn't matter. We usually gray out non-work days, weekends, and holidays. Okay? So if you look at my example, I have like Memorial Day. That's grayed out. Remember, a schedule, guys, if I look back in time, like think about this. At the end of the project, I should be able to look back at these schedule updates and like it should tell a story, right? Because as we usually present our 2-week look aheads, our 3-week or 4-week look aheads, guys, check this out. Look at the date that I generated this. I sent this schedule out. This is really, really important. Guys, we only got like 50 more minutes. It's going to fly by. Lock in on this last type of stuff here because it's just critical shit. I generated this on 6/3/16. That's when I sent that out. I show, if you really look at my 4-week schedule, what this is a 3-week look ahead and a 1-week what we did. If I generated this on 6/3, it shows what these items are actually completed work. This cafeteria room happened on Tuesday. We dug, it says digs, we dug the sewer line on Tuesday. This shit, guys, happened. This is in the past. This 3 weeks is a projection of what's coming up. That is super important for you guys to understand. So if I look back at my schedules, I'm telling a story. All right? I always reflect what happened during that week. This is set in stone. This happened. This is when I walked on the job site on Friday, guys, and I put my eyes on the underground plumbing. And I am only sending this schedule out after I saw that. I am comfortable that when I distributed that schedule, that damn underground plumbing is done. Now, you might say, well, why leave it on your schedule if you're done with it? Documentation. And guess what? You know what looks really good when the owner sees this on Friday? Ooh, 100%, 100%, 100%, 100%. I will show items that we completed because it's good. It looks good. It's documented. So it's just an important distinction. I'm going through the details of these bar charts, guys, because, my God, if you set them up and you pay attention to these little details, you've literally, look what you've done with your one piece of paper. You've got a daily report here, too. You have a document that has literally captured everything that is happening. You don't know how many times you'll be like, oh, we got that done January 2nd. We got that done the second week of May. And I just can go back to my schedules and say, bullshit, you did. I got it right here. Or, oh, yeah, you did. You were right. You proved me wrong. So, again, that's why I'm going through the details of the bar chart, because this tells information. You know how we do billing in construction, guys? It's percentage of complete. If my CMU contractor gives me a bill for 50% of the interior CMU wall, I'm going to say, go pound salt. You're not done yet. You're only 35% done. You're not going to finish until next Friday. I now have a daily report. I have a management tool. I can put safety issues in the notes. I can put quality issues in the notes. If you build a badass bar chart schedule, you've literally created your management tool, guys. So those non-work days, weekends, holidays, whatever they may be, represent them as grayed out. It could be site-specific stuff. The owner could say, hey, we can't work next Tuesday or whatever. We'll have, there were times, guys, like if it was a elementary school, they might have a water main burst and we couldn't do any work or whatever, like a maintenance facility issue. And if that happened for whatever reason, I would reflect that in my schedule. I would gray this out and say, hey, we couldn't work. So again, you've got a document tool, you've got a management tool, you're making yourself looking very professional, you're covering your ass, your subcontractors see you're on top of it off of one damn sheet. We list the appropriate checklists and to-do list activities. We want to make it as close to their order of occurrence as possible on the left side, right? So again, these could be a million different things. You can say, you could put in the notes, also the critical resources that are needed. Crane delivery, put it in the notes. Scaffolding, we need scaffolding or we need certain things. Guys, err on the side of putting too much information. It's really easy for me to click in here and just go, right? It's super easy to do that. But just make sure whatever you've got to, again, like I said, you got your system in place that you can do this stuff. So again, I'll always include just our general line items down the left. And I use Excel naturally. You see this WBS, don't let it confuse you. It's called work breakdown structure. I'm not going to get too far into it. All it is it's just a representative number that I could go to another document and reference. Right? So I'll just use Excel. If I put, I can just then reference this as line item number 5. Or whatever you decide to do, have that system in place. Now, obviously, this is the hard part, determining how many days each of those activities are going to take to complete. That's tough. You obviously want to come up with a generality. If you look at these guys, these change. If I pulled up the schedule I issued a week before, the ones that I projected might have been a little different. Okay, that's cool. Remember, we're always checking our little current progress at our overall date. Okay, you're always checking and referencing this stuff back to those days. We color in the boxes horizontally underneath in the dates in which they will occur, equal to the number of days associated with each task. So very easily represented here. We have a roofing, we'll start on Monday, and we'll obviously continue through. Now, this is important. This is a very basic schedule. This is me presenting this to our general audience. Let's talk a little bit about ways that we can represent maybe some float. Let me show you. I can do it in the bar chart, but I want to do it here. I just think I could show you a really good picture. Okay. Wait, holy shit. You know what? I think it brought me back to the same page. Huh. It was right there. Now, it starts getting a little confusing here. Let's talk a little bit through this. It's not confusing once somebody teaches you. See, that's really the big thing in CM. Like, I will get it if you teach me. Someone's got to show me. And that's why you guys are here. Once someone shows you, it really makes sense. A lot of the stuff we do in construction, like, you look back and you're like, oh, okay, that makes pretty damn much sense. So this schedule is representing a schedule that's been updated. Anytime you see a vertical bar here, guys, or an item that is blue, this has happened. Okay, so let's look. This is done by months, and they actually kind of break up the month by quarters. Who cares? Doesn't matter. It's telling us basically the same information. These items have been completed. So this schedule, if I'm looking at it, it's basically a 4-month look ahead. They're showing us what happened in January, and they're showing us what's going to happen in February, in March, and in April. This might be a good schedule to show to the owner. But maybe on my subcontractor meetings, like I said, I've got to be able to filter that information down to the specific information to subcontractors. Here, so again, we see this blue item here. That item has happened. It's in the past. These little black bars that you see represented over top is kind of showing the phasing. We like to break our schedules out. I typically don't just create a schedule, guys, and just have them all lined up as line items here. Oh my God, it gets damn confusing. Let's break them out by certain types. If you look at my schedule, I broke it out by subcontractor, by excavation person, by the steel subcontractor, by the concrete, by the plumber. That's what my subs liked. The owner liked it. I could give two shits. I can manage it anyway. It doesn't matter to me. The owner liked this. He liked seeing it broken out this way. Hey, guess what? If he likes it, I like it. I want the next project with him, right? So that's cool with me. So we tend to break them out. This one just happens to be broken out by mobilization, by construction, by site, by project closeout. There's a million different ways you can cut this up, okay? So again, we like these bars in P6 just represent a break. So that way, let's say we're having a meeting, guys, about installing the fence. I'm only gonna maybe filter this information out for installing the fence. Maybe my sub doesn't want to see this shit that happened a month ago. Why would or she, my subcontractor, give a shit when we got the notice to proceed? No, we need to know when the fence is coming here, how we're installing it, blah, 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 blah. Right? So that I want to be able to break that out or filter out that information. These purple bars, pink bars, I don't know, whatever the hell you want to call them, represent float. Okay? The reason you don't see float in my schedule is I'm not going to tell the freaking owner and the subcontractor, oh yeah, these items could happen in the next week. We talked a little bit about that before, obviously. And let me show, excuse me. Let me show you, like in, 1 second. Got a little scratcher. Like in Excel, you can represent it very easily like this. So I would say, like, let's say we're going to have a line item that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yellow is my favorite color. Someone use yellow. All right, so I've got an item that's happening. Let's say it's install rough-in plumbing. It's going to happen Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Float would typically be represented by something like this, like an underlined bar. Maybe we'll have float like this. My weekends, we're not working, so I'll gray them out or black them out or blue them out, whatever the hell you want to do. I typically like to represent every cell in Excel, like all borders. I know I'm going fast, guys, but I just want to show you this really quick. Float's typically represented by a visual that extends past the blocked out dates. So this would tell me, you know, this line item, oh, this is the cool part too. It's really like a sliding scale. This line item can happen here. Technically, if I have float out to here, it could happen. It could happen here, right? It could happen here. It could happen there. As long as we're staying on this float bar, we're okay. If I'm generating a schedule and I'm putting these together and I'm like, got this, and yeah, I got electrical, it's going to be here. And then, you know, we got 1 day of float. And again, this is after you've gone through the critical path method. And I present this to the owner and I say, oh yeah, you know, it can happen here or there. They're going to say, what? No, we want this. We don't want it to happen here. We want it to happen here. Everybody's pushing for that time. So guess what, guys? You better believe I ain't going to show this on a schedule to my subs or to my owner. I don't want to say, oh yeah, you know, if this happens, even if, okay, even if it makes sense, even if it fits in the end date of our schedule, you never want to throw out days and times like it's nothing. I teach our undergraduate coaching teams that we present project estimates and bids to owners. We do these they're like mock kind of presentations. I've had students in the past say, well, they say, hey, you know, your bid's off by, I think, about $300,000. And I've had students say, oh, well, you know, it's only $300,000. And again, we might be talking like on a $50 million project where 300 grand isn't a lot, but it's not your money, right? Like to tell somebody, oh, you know, 50,000, it's not that much. It's that, while might not be important on the huge project scale volume, it's important to owners. These days are important to owners. We don't want to throw them out like carelessly, like, to them, again, even if that laying that roadway, you know, it really isn't a big deal, it's a big deal to them, right? So it's a lot of this shit, guys, and scheduling is about perception. So again, if I'm visually looking at this, the project has started, this stuff has happened in the past, our float bar is here, our black bars just represent kind of these sections as it's broken out. Our arrows represent relationships. If you have activities stacked, okay, this is good for you guys who are concerned about relationships or had questions. If you look at dig cable trench here, guys, this has obviously a relationship, follow the arrow, down to lay stoning and lay roadway. Now, try to do this. Try to see it, that these items literally line up perfectly with the end of this. Same with install equipment, right? Again, you see a relationship. You see that this literally ends right as that ends. Well, guess what, guys? Going back to our relationship, that represents our finish to start relationship. This activity, we have to dig the cable trench, guys, before we can lay the stone over top of the trench. So that visually shows this has to be done before these items can start. But now look at this, guys. Lay stoning and lay roadway, they're happening at the same time. We have two items down here that are happening at the same exact time. They're overlapped. So where these bars align, my God, hopefully you guys, if anything you got out of this course, you can accurately read a schedule now. Once you show it, look how like visually it is to understand. I could literally close my eyes after reading this and I could picture where we are going to be at on February 8th of 2015. Let's say February 8th of 2021. I could close my eyes and say, hey, we've got a damn roadway that's going down. That is the beautiful part of this. Okay? As you see items like erect steel structures and install equipment, these items are happening, obviously, concurrently. As we're installing that steel structure, we're installing the equipment. So these overlaps, these visual representations cannot be stressed enough, guys. That float bar then represents that installing that bus, I'm assuming that's like that's got to be something electrical, bus bars and jumper cables, whatever the hell that is. That can happen in this range. And that's why I alluded to earlier, guys, how important it is, like, for money. I could literally, if I have the float to install this grounding bar, and if it costs $20,000, I have the power now to kick it from February to March. I just pushed $20,000 for 30 days. Because billing cycles are typically done at 30-day intervals. Me, as a homeowner doing this latest project, I financed the project myself, guys. Like, I had my credit card. Okay? And I'm not just, I'm telling you that story because that's how owners think a lot of times too. I mean, you're looking at cash flow expenditures. How much do we have coming in versus how much we're spending? You know how big of a deal it would be for me as a homeowner to push a $20,000 cost? That buys me 30 days. Now I have the money. It's not like I'm like, oh, I got to go out and make $30,000, right? Like, no, I've planned for this, but it's nice to be able to push money. Unforeseen things can happen. Man, if you're a scheduler and if you work for a company that can provide that value to an owner and let them know some of that stuff without sharing that, right? We can say we can have the resources to change that. My God, that's huge. I'm telling you guys, you cannot stress enough how important just generating something like this is, and you can run the whole damn thing off of it. So again, you might want to designate different trades with different colors. You can put in labor, you can put in cost. There's a million ways to do this thing. As long as we're making sure, remember, cut through the shit, be as clear, as concise as possible. Show dates. We have to show dates when they are to be completed. Every attribute that you've shown in here, guys, every attribute of every schedule I've shown shows that. It's showing the same shit, right? We want to show a completion date. We also, there is a number of days to obviously complete the task. We want to show that, and we assign a responsibility to that party. If you see right here, guys, in my example, these are subcontractors. Ball in court. Here's who is responsible for it. These are the things we need to complete. These are who's responsible for what. I'm putting your name on the damn paper. I'm calling you out if you need called out. It's your responsibility. I cannot stress that enough because, again, I don't want to let down Bozar. A lot of these folks work together. They know each other. If they know that I'm going to screw over my buddy at Capital Steel, if I don't do what I'm supposed to do, then, we got to talk. Now, the downside of an Excel schedule like this is it's hard to show the relationships. See, it's nice seeing this because it visually shows exactly what item is tied together. It's nice seeing this because I can visually show, oh shit, if I don't install my equipment, like think about this, guys. Installing this cable trench, right? These items are all tied together. This is the electrician. Because we're digging a cable trench that needs equipment to be installed, and then the roadway can be over. This is an electrician working with a paver, working with a site contractor. If I show that, hey, guys, I seem like I have a good personality, but when you're running a project, when you guys are running projects, people aren't going to like you. People aren't going to like some of the decisions you make. I've had people tell me a dumbass or whatever. I could care less. But you run into. But if I show, and I don't care. Here's the beautiful part, guys. My job as a PM is to deliver that project. I don't care. Call me a dumbass. But what I found a lot of success in, if I can show how they are helping their buddies in the field and the connection to that electrician has with that stone person, my guys, that is valuable. Don't do it for me as the project manager who's always yelling at you to get it done, get it done, get it. Get it for your buddy that you're really connected with. Like there's a little bit of a disconnect from people in the field to us in the management side of things, right? Like, let's just be real. And that's okay. You can think I'm full of shit. But guys, I have never seen a sub let down unless they've had their own conflict, which is a whole nother story. But if I show that, I can't stress that enough. Yeah, you can tell me or whatever, you can let me down, but don't let your buddy down in the trenches. There's a psychological aspect to that, guys. I'm telling you to not downplay that. So I like showing relationships in some aspects. But again, this was a very simple project. So we could really talk amongst ourselves. We knew the relationships. Like, we knew if the roof didn't get on, like, we couldn't put up the drywall. Like, it was very simple type stuff. So you got to be malleable. Again, visually appealing. We designate non-working days and working days because, again, it is a record of what happened. Any notes or added information. And obviously, we want to be able to include who created it. Remember, every time I hit send in my email on Friday to all the players in this thing, it's a legal document. Okay? I'm representing myself. I'm representing my organization. I need to show the date it was produced, who produced it, who am I representing. It may sound simple, it may sound trivial. You guys are probably all professionals and you know that. Like, I don't want to, I'm not, please, I don't want to speak like I'm speaking down to you guys. Like, I know there's varying degrees of experience, but literally it's just an important piece. It's just, it is, because it is a document that is really showing a lot of information. Okay. So again, date created, who the author is, big deal. Just another example I wanted to show you. I will go back and reference some of this stuff, showing you the same type of thing. Now, got about, we'll go for about 30 more minutes here. Here are the generalities that I want to show you guys that set you apart. As you get into your field, as you get a couple projects under your belt, you are going to be able to be like, yep, drywall, yeah, electrical, plumbing, yep, pretty simple, concrete, pretty straightforward. You're going to get comfortable with the typical construction processes, right? Like, you're going to get comfortable with that. Yes, you get to unique project things where you might have to install plumbing 50 feet in the air, sure. But a lot of times it's the really site-specific, unusual, or unique aspects that really throw us off on our schedules. As I'm writing my checklist and to-do list, I usually have line items, guys, that I put stars next to. And again, I know this is like elementary type shit. I always laugh. I look back, I'm like, my God, I use like stars. I use these little tips and tricks I tell you guys, but I'm not shitting you. It works. And what I usually highlight and star stuff with is unique aspects. I am so blessed to work at Kent State and be a professor, guys. I love it. It's such a cool opportunity. It's just, it's my passion in life. And I'm fortunate enough to do it in such a badass building. We have a groundbreaking building at Kent State. I have to give you guys the plug about Kent State. If you haven't been down to Kent, go down and see it. The campus is beautiful. The downtown is awesome. We are in a LEED Platinum building. It's won so many freaking awards. It is just, Kent State is cool. I got my undergraduate degree from Kent in 2010, and guys, it was a shithole in 2010. Right? We know can't read, can write, Kent State. I'm a proud alumni. That's what it used, the connotation it used to have. Not anymore. I'm telling you guys, it has changed. But what I'm getting at is, if I'm looking at a project like this that I'm going to run, holy shit, I'm writing down unique aspects. You do not see a curtain wall system like this every day. You do not see a exterior brick facade system like this every day. Don't underestimate by simply, in order to familiarize yourself with that project, looking at those unusual aspects, because they are typically the root of our problem areas. You know, the drywall in this, did they have some issues? I'm sure. I wasn't on the project team. I'm sure they did, but probably not as big as this. That big ass green roof that's there probably created a lot more issues than the underground plumbing. Usually it's those unique site specific things that we run into that throw us off, that throw kinks into our schedule. Trying to find if there's any more cool pictures. There's the our main lecture hall in here. Actually, you know what? Here's a good example of an auditorium with drywall that I wanted to show you. That's pretty unique. These ceilings are called barrel ceilings. It's hard to see, but this is actually like a radius. So it's like, it does a radius of drywall and then it comes across and then radiuses back down. To freaking do a radius in drywall, guys, that's unique. It's a pain in the ass. Like something like this, it's not super unique, but it's something different that's going to actually inhibit efficiency. Write that down. I should trademark that damn thing. If it inhibits efficiency, you want to know about that as a scheduler. I'm writing it down myself because I think it's pretty catchy. I'm sure someone said it out there before. I want to capture things that exhibit, like, think about it. If I'm running drywall straight down this corridor, my God, that's easy. Throw a sheet up, screw it in. Here, I got to be on a scaffolding. I have to make a corner. I have radiuses, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure I've covered a lot of examples of those, but it just made me think about that as I was looking at this. But again, I'm looking at those unique aspects of the room. That wood panel that's in there, that's a unique aspect. It's going to take time. It's going to take coordination. That's going to get a star next to it in the line item. Right? It's going to spark a conversation. It's going to bring up an issue, because a majority of times, guys, it doesn't have to do with metal stud framing that is the problem area. It has to do with when our contractors are sitting there and we're all standing there and we got all these wood panels delivered. This is what happens, guys. Like, think about it. Our subcontractors are also working with materials that change on every job. We don't work at a Ford plant where we work with the same material over and over and over. This system is not the same system that Carpenter installed on the last project. And if it is, it ain't the size, same dimensions. So we've gotten stuff where we're sitting there like, okay, like it got here, we're all standing around. I'm like, all right, well, where do we start? And the carpenter's looking at me and they're like, let's pull the first piece out. And we just start working through it. Those are typically, obviously, where you're going to run into problem areas. And guess what? Build more time into those. Hide time in your schedules in anticipated problem areas. I don't need to build a lot of time in framing. You can usually make up time in those really aspects of your project that are easy, that are repetitive, that you can really drive a lot of efficiency. Because there has been times, guys, where we're just, like I said, it took us like 3/4 of a day to just get this figured out, to get into the specs, to get it laid out, to know how it's fastened. They're playing with them. They're putting one up, taking one down. We need to know that. Build the time in. Obviously, plans and specifications are super important to the outcome of our schedule, guys. They're important because the material that we use affects durations. If we use a fast setting concrete, that reduces my concrete scheduling time. So I always beg the architects and I beg the interior designers and engineers, and I'm just like, please just spec easy shit for us to install. I've literally, I tell you guys, my wife's an interior designer. Oh, you know what? I'm going to do a little segue. We got the time. I'm going to segue here. My wife's an interior designer. I don't even know my own stuff, so don't be surprised if I... And I'm not going to go through all my freaking personal pictures here. That's why I'm not pulling up Facebook. It's the only medium that I use to post basically pictures of our project. Yeah, all this crap. We're getting to it. Hold on. My photos. That's where it would be. Here's some pictures of this stuff. Guys, she's an interior designer. I'm a contractor. This high-end finish stuff drove me crazy. Unique aspects of these things. And again, I'm showing you guys a simple example, but I want to shed the importance of this, guys. This is like a scupper that you put on a cabinet. It's hard. It's a pain in the ass. It takes a while to install. Okay, this is in a house. Imagine you're in a high-rise hotel that has 892 rooms with these. All right? That's why I'm just stressing you the importance of how in the commercial industry, guys, this stuff is extrapolated. I like this stuff where it's exposed finishes on the walls. It's easy to install. We run into all the time of interior designers or architects specifying material that's really hard and time consuming to install. So we had a constant battle as we were looking through some of this stuff of saying, okay, how much are these finishes? How hard is it to install? You're constantly weighing, or should be as the designer and an owner, how much of a pain in the ass is this going to be to put up? Because it was much more easier, guys, to just drywall those ceilings, okay, than to install that stuff. Here's some pictures of some good metal framing to give you guys some examples. But again, I'm just showing you this as I would any example. It's a constant flux between the materials that you choose have a direct impact on your schedule. If you look at this picture here, guys, we took the time, that's spray foam insulation, by the way. We took the time to put a finished material in between the beams to expose the steel beams. Do you know how nice it would have been for me if I could have just drywalled right over that and buried it and never thought about it again? The finished material that you specify has a direct relation to schedule. You know how fast I would have gone? I would have had that ceiling done in no time. So I'm just showing you these to say the designer and the architect that specs that material in the drawings is a direct correlation, guys. I would tell Amber all the time, babe, my wife, please, this is a pain in the ass to install. Can we use a different product? And sometimes I would win that battle. Majority of the times I would not win that battle. But this stuff happens on real world projects. That's why I talk about it, guys, because everything is specifically tied into this stuff. We have to think about all of our relationships, and we're wrapping up here, guys. So just lock in with me here. I want to break more out into this because things physically can make sense. And this is going to help you guys when you're sitting down, and I make it sound so easy, I get it. But when you're sitting down, you're looking at drawings and you're like, oh my God, I can't figure this out. Let's just say we have installing steel structure. We have under. And we have install ceiling structure. We're going to do that today. And we have underground plumbing that's going to happen. It's actually happening. Started yesterday, and we're hopefully going to finish up tomorrow. This physically makes sense, guys. Physically, I can install big-ass heavy pieces of steel, okay, while I am installing underground plumbing, right? So picture this. You have a crane. You have steel, they're flying it up, they're bringing it up to different levels. And underneath that crane, at 200 feet below, let's just say, you have a team of plumbers installing underground PVC. Physically, that makes absolute sense. You can do that. There's nothing that says you can't. That physically, you could do that. Not safety-wise. There ain't no way in hell you should be flying heavy equipment, material, and steel over top folks that are working underneath you. So when you're sitting down, right, and you've done, remember we've walked through the checklist, the to-do list. Now as you get to organizing this stuff, you have to consider the relationships. And there's only 4, okay? So now let's just look at these 2 line items and walk through it. You're saying, okay, this is the way I'm going to plan it. I'm a crazy visual guy. I close my eyes and I have to picture. I'm like, okay, I got steel. Okay. Well, we can't do that. We know that safety-wise, that doesn't make sense. Okay. So now we can make a different change. Quality relationship-wise, remember, we have to ask ourselves every relationship. Quality, yeah, we can do that. Installing steel and plumbing, they're 2 different things. Doesn't have to do jack shit with quality. Cool. Resource relationship. The resource relationship now is, remember, if we have a crane, for example, that can be utilized between 2 different contractors, we always want to ask ourselves that question. Is there a resource being shared between these 2 items that might throw something off? If I'm installing this steel structure and I have this or a different line item the same time period, that's scheduled for the same resource. So what if I have this? Install rooftop HVAC units. And I have that happening on 12/5. Right? Because remember, these things are kind of all intercorrelated and related at some point. I'm just building out as a general example. So now let's look at these items if they have a relationship. I need that steel structure to be done before I can put the rooftop unit. But guys, to install the steel structure and to install the rooftop unit, they both need the crane. So now I need to think about that. Oh shit, they're sharing a resource. Now, it could be something as simply as me walking up to the foreman for the HVAC person and the steel person saying, hey guys, can you use the crane for an hour tomorrow to set this? And it could be a 2-second conversation that completely, you're covered, you're good, we're good, it's solved. I'm just saying, as you're generating yours, as you're communicating those, you have to think about these relationships. I would go so far as also to add another one that's all relative. And the reason I didn't really outline it at first, because it should go hand in hand with everything, is cost, obviously. We need to think about, guys, even if we're a subcontractor, oh, this is good shit. We only got a couple more slides, but this is good stuff, guys. Not only are the general contractors that we work for, the owners that we work for, whoever, not only do they control our method, like sequence of actual construction, like install framing, do this over here, do this over there, they actually control the logistical aspect of this. Guys, where you are logistically, and I covered some of this too, the planning that a general contractor makes, even if you're a general contractor or your sub, whatever, affects our schedule. Know where you are going to be logistically. Ask those questions associated with that relationship, because everything planning-wise that we do, schedule-wise, has a cost impact. You guys know how much labor is. Think about it. Every day wasted affects somebody financially. It's somebody not doing something efficient. It's something I can tie it back to financially. Just by simply telling you that you can only store your materials in this corner affects your cost. So again, from a subcontractor point of view, if I'm you guys, you should, and you're bidding on a project, you're putting a schedule together, you should not only be looking at the construction sets and plans and specifications, but you should say, hey, dude or gal, whoever's running this project, what's the logistics? Where am I going to be sequenced? Because, guys, other trades and the way that they sequence this could affect you and your schedule. So I always talk about, when we're doing and looking at this thing from a scheduling aspect, you're playing chess, not checkers. You need to think holistically. You need to think of how your relationship between these line items is past the direct and obvious things. It's easy to look at this and come up with direct. It's the hard part is finding the little nuanced things that can happen. And honestly, guys, you'll learn to ask those questions in courses like that, but no one can recreate that. You're going to build that up. You're going to build that experience up as you gain experience in the field. All I'm telling you is, I don't know if there's any big Netflix fans out here with this damn quarantine. We've been loving Netflix. We watched The Queen's Gambit on Netflix, which is badass. It's all about chess. And it makes me think about this. Like, you need to think about wider array of moves. How does this affect that down the road? So again, when you're looking and you're sitting at a blank screen, or you're looking at that pen and paper and you're saying, Anthony just started jotting down shit and it was so easy for him. Start with the drawings, start with the checklist, move the to-do list, and then start thinking about the relationships. Can I do this? And then, guys, as you start to align these together, you're going to have questions. You might bring this schedule to a project manager or one of the folks that you work with and say, all right, here's what I came up with. And I might look at this and say, hey, this doesn't make sense because of this. You're not going to know that until you start putting these together. Guys, I didn't find out that you couldn't put tile floor on top of concrete for 28 days until somebody told me. Right? So put this stuff together, present it. You're going to fall. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to present shit that doesn't even make sense. That's okay. That's how you learn and build this, because we need to keep everybody in the loop. Even the architecture firm gets a schedule. Like I said, everybody gets a freaking schedule every Friday. I'm not going to dive too much more deeper into that, as you can. I've already talked about the benefits of that, but that is really what we're doing. Okay? And obviously we want to make sure we're filtering each one of those. This schedule that I send out, whoops, actually it's here. This schedule that I would send out every Friday, I would actually show the float and critical items when I send it out to my boss. Right? So again, I'm filtering information by off of who is reading that information. Last really key concept that we're going to cover with you guys and round this thing out is a thing called milestone dates. Not only, okay, are we agreeing, let's say we agree to a final contract of start of construction. Okay, let's say we start. You guys are like, this guy's a professor, he can't even spell fucking construction. So start of construction, let's say 120. Okay, we start on January 1st. And we're going to say a finish. Jeez, need another cup of coffee. Finish of 1/1/21. We can have we're going to have obviously more detailed items in there, but let's just use this as a general overall rule. We might say to that owner, we are agreeing with you that we are going to hand you the keys on January 1st, 2021. Okay? We've agreed to that in contract, in writing. On top of that, though, we might also have to agree to what are called milestone dates. So let's say maybe, now, this is an important distinction. You might not have to agree to all the milestone dates, but there's some that might be in the contract, and I'm going to show you that you have to agree to. So let's give you some examples of milestone dates. So let's say we start construction one. Maybe a milestone date would be complete underground foundations, and we might call it like 2/15/20. We might say top finish, it's called topping off, finish steel erection. Like I said, it's called topping off. It's a ceremony. People come out. Look, I'll show you. People come out and sign it. The owner comes out. You have some barbecue and pizza and blah, blah, blah. It's a big deal. That's what we want to show that in our schedule. They'll sign things. They'll take pictures. I dig that shit. I like rubbing elbows with the owners and stuff like that. We might want to show that. So that might be 4/25. And then maybe okay, these milestones, you guys can get what I'm obviously doing here, right? They're big ticket items. I'm not gonna put install the toilets. Now, I could be on a project, you might be on a project where all you're doing is bathroom renovations, and hey, maybe installing the shitters is a big deal. And that's cool too. You got to know your audience. Don't forget that. But I'm talking big commercial aspects here. I'm thinking big ticket items. These are also important, guys, because you want to break it out into not only those 2-week look aheads, but little section goals. We know if we're looking at this schedule, guys, we know our overall goal of what we're trying to meet. But we also might want to know that this laying out new walls and laying out this stuff has a direct correlation to like completing the foundations. We might have our schedule broken out, like I showed you, to just foundations. So it's kind of cool to not only set like 2-week look aheads, 3-week look aheads, but milestones. Like, guys, damn, good job. We really put in a lot of work this first month and a half. Look at that. We got it. We hit our milestone date. Or we didn't. Or we finished before. So not only do you have 2-week look aheads, 3-week look aheads, blah, 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 these little smarts, then you have milestone dates. Now, you also might have contractually defined milestone dates. Where I've seen it before, guys, they will have it might be written in your contract and written in a schedule somewhere that your agreements with the owner that you will not only turn over the building on January 1st, 2021, you will have the building secure by December 1st of 2020. Let's think about this, guys. The owner has to plan for certain things. My God, thinking about the holidays, I'll never forget. I've been on projects, guys, where I'll start drooling because a Best Buy truck will back up to this commercial building and it'll be filled with flat screens, projectors, computers, and you're just like, oh, like drop one of those 75 inches off at my house, right? But the owner's got to furnish this building. So again, not only do you have to hand me the keys on January 1st, I got to have a lockable building so I can get my furniture in there. I can hang my TVs. I can get our swipe key cards put in place. They might even have people, guys, if it's a big office building, people might be coming into work. They might start be setting up their offices and stuff. So you need to understand the goals of that project, guys, are not only just start and end, but my God, we might have milestones that we have to hit. So you better damn believe in my scheduled conversations between finish roof on 7/1/20 and where we need that building secure, my goals in that section should be all really pointing towards getting that damn building secure. Well, what does that mean? We got to have windows. We got to have doors. We got to have key cards. We got to have locks. And it just starts this whole conversation. And I start writing shit down, guys. Like literally, I break it down. I might just take a piece of paper and just start writing like, okay, you know, just give myself some notes here. All right, we need windows. We need doors. We need lock sets. And then I might say, wait, lock sets. Do we have a contractor yet? Oh yeah, we've signed a contract. Then I pull that sheet open and then I reach out to them. Hey, just want to get you on the board, let you know. And it just, that is how you manage a job, guys. I don't have all this shit in the back of my head. I don't know that we need to have lock sets installed by 8/2. It changes and ebbs and flows, but using this method that we've talked about by just documenting and writing and tracking, that's how you manage it, guys. So again, the milestone dates are very, very important to consider. They might be ones that we generate and that we want to present. Hey, we might want to have, guys, Cleveland Medical Mart, and I don't know if anyone from CEA is on. I'm sure someone is. I can't see the screen. But like, it was a big deal. And I don't know if anyone has heard of Cleveland. It was a big deal in Cleveland, guys. This was like 2010, you know, coming off the recession. It was a $500 million project into Cleveland. Like, these milestone dates, the CEO of Turner Construction, guys, huge, was flying in from New York City to come and take pictures, and we had ties on that day. You know, all that shit that goes into that. These are important dates, guys, that are going to be shared across people. If I'm telling the CEO, yeah, 4/25, and we don't miss that or something like that, is bad. So you can have little nuances and changes here, but when we're typically presenting milestone dates, guys, they have to be shown as like achievable, and you better be right? Like, people care about these bigger items. We're there every day grinding to make sure the little things happen, to make sure this happens. So I can't stress that enough. They change on every job. They ebb and flow. They're almost like our quarterly like goals, monthly type goals. So again, they got to be shown. Some ways that we can compress the schedule, you've got to be very careful, guys. You can't just start picking days out. Just being like, oh yeah, we can finish that shit fast. Just take a day out. You better have methodology to how you can change the duration of a critical activity. You better freaking be able to tell me how you are going to take clearing, grubbing, and erosion control, how you are going to go from 10 days to 9. I want to hear that. So I can't just be like sitting here on my schedule. I'm just like, you know what, delete. Oh, let me edit this over. Let me do this. Because there is nothing worse than getting a project, guys, getting on it and not being able to achieve it, and you don't meet your goals. So you got to be realistic here when you're making these ads. We can always work to have critical path or near critical path activities work. It's one of the simplest responses as project managers have is, well, you know what? It's a critical activity. We're behind schedule. It's 30 days. Why don't we work on 2 or 3 Saturdays and we can go from 30 to 27? However, the math isn't always that easy when it comes to changing these. Let me tell you this from experience, guys. People do not work as efficient or effective when they work Saturdays. It just doesn't happen. You know what happens the majority of the time Saturday morning? Shit, the first couple hours we're out there, you're getting started, you worked all week, you're thinking about who the Browns are playing, the Titans this weekend. We're both 8-3 if you didn't know that already. But you know, Saturdays are typically slower. You get less production, especially if you've worked subcontractors very, very consistently in overtimes. I've seen like if you work 4-6 weeks of concurrent Saturdays, that like 5th and 6th week, the people are dead tired, man. People are sick of it. So you need to be careful when you're thinking about, oh, yeah, we'll just work overtime. We'll just throw money at it. Be more creative than that. Think about materials. Think about procurement. Think about coordination things that can actually not cost you any money. Like, you know, it costs someone money to work overtime. You know what's really cool? To sit down with a project team and to come up with a sequencing solution that doesn't cost anybody money. Like, we just came up with a better way to do it. I don't have to spend more money on materials or more equipment or whatever. We can revise the schedule. We talked about, obviously, we can modify lags. We can also stack relationships. Now, you want to be careful, right? You can see that these items are stacked. Anytime that you have this item that's overloading those, that means those are happening concurrently. You run into issues when you're just like, let's just throw manpower at it. Like, let's just throw people. I've actually hurt myself by doing that because now you have an electrician that's stumbling over a plumber, that's stumbling over a demolition contractor, and we're all congested in the northeast corner, and it's a pain in the ass. So think about when you're having concurrent activities, what is actually the most efficient and effective way? There's ways to do it. You know, if you're on a big commercial project, it's nice to start, you know, the drywall contractor on the first floor, give them 2 days, and then follow behind with the finishers. You want to do that, but you want to be careful on how many you stack. Because now you have a subcontractor coming into your office, knocking on your door and saying, Anthony, I'm inefficient. I got shit stacked everywhere. You're costing me money. And guys, that'll happen. Then you come up with a solution, right? If our first run of the schedule is too short and doesn't match milestone and completion dates, well, shit, it's always easy to add. Very rarely am I like, oh, hey, guys, we have so much time, I'm just going to throw days everywhere. But it has happened. If I do want to do it, why wouldn't I throw additional days at those that are critical and those that are unique? So I'm hoping if one thing you got out of this whole course is, guys, focus on the unique, focus on those items and pour your resources into that. By God, you will be a very, very good scheduler. So again, just some, one last thing. And I'll open it up for questions. When you guys are considering, like, you want to ascend in your organization, you work at the Higley company, for example, as a project engineer, whatever. I feel like construction management, guys, is one of those fields that it actually helps to have a broad experience. Like, if I wanted to go be a doctor and I wanted to be an anesthesiologist, like, I'm going to take courses in anesthesiology. All I'm going to do is anesthesiology. Like, that's it. Construction, we're a jack of all trades. I like to say I'm like a Renaissance man. I can do a little bit of everything. Like I'm an expert of none, but I know enough to talk about electrical. I know enough to talk about plumbing. I don't have enough time in the day to be an expert in everything. But we want to match our team that's running this project, okay, with the critical path. I've always said, if you put me in charge as a project manager, guys, I always just use this as an example because it's such a badass thing. I watched some documentary on it, I'm like obsessed with it. Like I would be a pretty shitty project manager or scheduler on this project because I don't have the experience of the critical path items of a project like this. Like think about it, guys. You need someone who's done huge hydroelectricity projects, who's done infrastructure projects like this, huge concrete pours. My God, I'm pretty sure they had to have demolition and they were literally blowing holes into the side of mountains. You need a leader or you need a scheduler that has the experience with the critical path items. So what I'm telling to you is, as commercial construction professionals, get as many experiences with critical paths as you can. Build a hospital, build a resort, build a shit factory, build a bridge, build a roadway. I think that there's value in our field of diversifying. Now, if you want to start your own company, that's maybe a different story. But if I'm running projects, if I'm thinking about scheduling specific, I want as much experience to critical paths as I can. Guys, 2 summers ago, I installed countertops. I installed countertops as literally in the field, doing it, hauling them, taking you around. One, because I was doing countertops in my place. But you know what? Every experience like that, I now have a critical path experience. And you know what's funny? That hotel that I just showed you guys that I'm doing an estimate for, guess what's in here? Countertops. Vanity top material, threshold material. You know who was the star of the show? I'm not piping my own horn, but I'm giving you an example. When we talked through these line items with the owner, I knew everything there was to know about countertops. I'd done it. I literally installed countertops in high rises. I know how to cut them. I know how they're broken out. I know the process. I know how you shake them out. And what I'm getting at is every experience that you guys run into in construction should be adding to that critical path experience for you. I don't give a shit. I saw someone who's on a roadway, who works for a road contractor. You have experience in that critical path. You might be in the bid or be associated with the Hoover Dam. Guys, if you've had experience with a roadway, it looks pretty damn critical on this project to me. Like a road construction superintendent is probably going to be utilized on this. So what I'm getting at is, guys, again, to just reiterate, try to get as many critical path experiences as you can because they change on each. And if you want me to run your project, you better make sure that my experience aligns with those critical items. Here's a really good example of a schedule, guys, that shows milestones. Again, just to break out for you, you can see how this is nicely and prepared. It's broken out by milestones, by site, by foundations. There's a million ways that you can do that, right? Here's those milestones, right? And they're spread out throughout your job. Building complete, start site work, substantial completion, big ticket type items that you want to present on. We are very sensitive to time of year, especially obviously in Northeast Ohio. When you're thinking about scheduling, you need to think about geographic conditions in which we are exposed to. It is not just winters. When I build in the Caribbean, we had to worry about hurricane season. You can install certain products at 120 degree Fahrenheit heat, and you're sitting beating that into, and beating on your back in the Caribbean. We need to reflect that in our schedule. So again, and it's really tied back to quality, right? Think about when you're installing this stuff as I'm going through and I'm writing these line items and I'm checking the relationships. Quality is directly representative of kind of time of year. When are we putting this in? How's it going to affect it? Float pass, obviously make sure you confirm you actually have that float that's there, right? If you show large amounts of float, like, oh yeah, we can get this done in like 3 months, should take a look at that. It's probably an issue. And obviously, we've kind of beat a dead horse with this, but organization and color coding is very, very important. Last thing to leave you guys with, again, to recap, it's subjective. It's a living, breathing document. You've got to determine how much to update the schedule based on the job conditions. But if you want my personal opinion, every single Friday, I'm performing that schedule update. I'm sending it out. It's a little hour a week thing that has just helped me so much in my career. And also, it's helped store data for me. Like, I know how long things take now. And I can tell you it's not been from reading a book. It's not been from anything other than observing it and getting input from subcontractors. So the amount, again, is dependent on a lot of this stuff. But if you want my recommendation, it's going to be weekly. Okay, so you guys will have all this information. I'll also include information, additional information that I have that Courtney can send to you. Because guys, if you want to be honest, you can teach all year about scheduling and going through examples and having you guys show them, right? So I'll provide you some of the stuff that we cover, but this should have been a really good foundational introduction to what we do, what method we use, what things that we need to look out for, and hopefully you guys will be able to even start generating your own schedules based off of what we cover. So with the last maybe 15 minutes, we don't have to go all the way to 12:30, but please ask questions if you have examples, if you need anything, if you want to share information with each other, whatever, in the chat. I'll go ahead and put my email. You have all the CEA, hopefully, contact information. Oh, thank you, Ivana. You know, I'm sorry. I did not see those in the chat, Ivana. I'm just looking those back as I've gone through. So is float equals lag in those methods? Great question. So float does not necessarily equal lag. But you know what? It's really kind of the same thing that you think about it, right? Like, it's basically just the space where you're not doing that. The difference is float, you can move it around a lot easier. Float, Yvonne, like you have, like you can, it's just easier for us to move around. With lag, it's not. You're typically tied a lot more to very like constraints of that material. That's would be my main differentiation, really, is just float. You got, you know, movement. Lag, yeah, there's a space in between there, but they're more rigid. They're really kind of tied to each other. You don't want to move too much. There's still a space between when they happen. But man, you're really worried about that. Oh, I like Pareto. 20% of your clients represent 80% of your revenue. That's great too. Absolutely. Any general questions, guys? I just got a message from Sandra. She's got to run. So, yeah, absolutely. She has another meeting there. So. Okay, I hope that's it. I hope I covered the information that you wanted. If there's any specific questions, like I said, right now I'm just going to go ahead and type in my contact information. And even if you're just like, hey, Anthony, what did this mean? I could care less. I mean, if there's a technical issue, whatever, I'm here as a resource or reference. Same with, I believe, the CEA. So be on the lookout for the information that we're going to send. So you have hard copies of this stuff so you can review it more in depth. But other than that, that's the content that I wanted to cover based off of your guys' input. Any other general questions? Okay, I will take that as a positive thing, I hope. I hope everyone has a good weekend. Like I said, I'll present that information. Oh, also, I believe CEA records this. I can see the recording on the bottom left. So I'm completely fine with them publishing that information as well. So I don't know why you'd want to rehear my lecture, but should you want, I think that information will be available. Good. Good. I hope you guys got everything you need out of it. And if you can't, reach out to me. If you have more that you want to get out of it, ask me, and I'll provide you more detailed information. Other than that, have a great weekend, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. My pleasure.